Well, welcome to Football Park in Phillip for this round 6 NEAFL clash here on NEAFL TV between the top side, the Brisbane Lions. They've come to Canberra today to take on the Canberra Demons. My name's Eddie Williams. With me is Chris Coleman. And Chris, Brisbane go in hot favourites today, but a good opportunity for players on both sides.
Indeed, and an interesting day coming up here. It'll be probably the coldest game that Lions play across the course of the season. 14 degrees, there's a little bit of a breeze around, which makes it feel a bit cooler. Apparent temperature about 11 degrees here. And to add to the mix, some rain falling. Now, yesterday we got a couple of torrential bands that came through Canberra. There was footy here last night, local AFL Canberra footy played here last night. So I'm not sure if the covers went down over the cricket pitch area at any stage, but there's also further rain that came through at midnight. Across the 24 hours up till now, probably, say, 3/4 of an inch, 17 millimetres or so of rain. We've been for a walk out there. Some parts of this ground very firm, some parts quite soft. So it'll be a good test today. And with Brisbane, to the naked eye, certainly appearing to have the taller side, it will be really interesting to see how it all goes, the talls versus the smalls on a soft ground today.
Brisbane going to the left of your screen to the northern end in this first quarter. The Demons will be kicking to the right of your screen to the Woden end. Very soft and muddy in the middle of the ground. They have moved the centre circle a little bit over towards that far side. So it's the off-centre circle today, and those hot spots about 40 metres out from goal in both forward lines, looking pretty soft as well. So tricky conditions to some extent for the players, but beautiful weather, a lovely sunny day. You wouldn't have known how wet and windy it was in Canberra yesterday.
No, yesterday I was not looking forward to being out at the footy, but the weather has done the right thing for us, and we are just about set to get underway. As you mentioned, Eddie, it's first versus fifth this afternoon. The Brisbane Lions come in 5-0, and the Canberra Demons 2-3. They're off the back of a game last week that they lost that they probably thought they should have won. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back in a game that most people would have the Lions going into as favourites as the first bounce comes.
And the Lions' average winning margin this season, 74 points. The Demons with it all ahead of them today at Phillip Oval. The ball's in the middle. It's picked up by Alex Smout, who polled all 10 MVP votes last week, had 40 touches against the Giants. His kick finds Highmore. Highmore's hand pass couldn't find a target, but the Demons get there to apply a bit of pressure near their half-forward line. We will get a ball up between wing and half-forward for the Canberra side. As you said, Chris, the Demons going down to the Giants by 14 points here last Friday night, while the Lions had another big win over the Swans. Demons with most of the footy early. It comes inside 50 towards Kanash, back in the side this week. He gave the hand pass off to Hardy. Hardy kicks to Fall, couldn't take the mark, brought it to ground. Lions had the numbers at ground level and they managed to work it out of defence for the time being. Umpire calls play on. Fall got the hand pass out to Hardy. Hardy fed it back. The kick comes to the hot spot. Owen Orban in a good position. Couldn't quite come to him. The Lions take the mark and they'll be able to get out of trouble.
Looks like Taylor who's got it, and the Lions start to flood around to the near side of the ground here at Footy Park in Phillip, and the ball goes that way. Hinge, the first man to get a mark for the Lions this afternoon. He does so. Sends it back to, I think again it is Taylor. They come around the outside. In open space is Skinner. He's got a man on there if you can spot him in Eagles with the long hair. Goes over that man though, flying down towards Cox, and the pack in front of Cox. Ball off the hands of Baker for the Demons, goes to ground, but there's too many Lions players in there. Picked up by Taylor now. He's gone all the way up the ground. Pops it over, finds Matheson. Matheson puts his side inside the forward 50, and that's a good strong mark, about 35 out on a 45-degree angle for the Brisbane Lions by Connor Ballenden, and he'll have the first shot of the day. He's on a fairly acute angle. He took the mark, I thought, on a 45, but the umpires pushed him around to probably closer to 60 degrees, but good end-to-end stuff from the Lions, Eddie.
We don't want to be too critical too early, but the Demons have had a lot of the footy and a lot of inside 50s in all their matches this season, haven't made the most of it. Can the Lions get a goal from their first inside 50?
Well, it looks pretty good, but it just fades away at the last moment, and Connor Ballenden gets the first score of the day. It's a minor score, and Brisbane lead 1-0 2 minutes into this one at Footy Park, Phillip Oval, on a Saturday afternoon.
So a let-off there for the Demons. Smout with another possession. Takes the mark in defence, kicks out towards Owen Orban, a Rising Star nominee a couple of weeks ago. He was pretty quiet last week against the Giants, so he'll be looking for a better game today. He kicks towards Highmore. It's knocked away from him by Eagles. The ball is over the boundary line, and it'll be thrown in just in front of the Brisbane Lions interchange bench. They lead by 1 point. Early days here at Footy Park. We've got two very different ruckmen lining up today. Josh Maynard, triple premiership player with Ainslie in the local AFL Canberra competition. Archie Smith only came to footy from basketball at age 17. Neither ruckman got a hand to it. Richardson kicks inside 50. Things open up a bit for Highmore. He gives it off to Bruce. Bruce fires the hand pass to Hardy, who tries to give it to his housemate, Mitch Maguire. Maguire has to lay the tackle. It came out the way of Hinge for the Lions, who gets it off to Christensen. Christensen throws it on the boot. Maynard knocks it down, but it comes to his opposing ruckman in Smith, and then ends over the boundary line. So we'll get another throw-in. Very similar position to where we were just a few moments ago in front of that Brisbane Lions interchange bench. And you'll see there an extra centre circle that is definitely an off-centre circle, perhaps some junior footy or a bit of training being done in that part of the ground. Maynard gets in front, knocked it down with both hands. Maguire couldn't quite run onto it. Moline couldn't either. There's Coleman, one of the rising stars for the Lions, but it came to Smout again, another disposal, picking up from where he left off. He tried to give it to Highmore, who couldn't get it in play, and we'll have a boundary throw-in inside 50 for Canberra.
Big birthday week for these sides, Eddie. Mitch Hahn, the Brisbane Lions coach, having a birthday yesterday, and Mitch Maguire having a birthday as well.
Turned 21 on Monday, now shares a birthday with the Royal Baby.
There we go. Ball tapped down there by Archie Smith for the Brisbane Lions, but congestion over the top at the moment. Coming through was Smout. He can't get the ball away, can get the ball away in the end. A teammate is immediately jumped upon, and we'll get another ball up. This one will take place about 40 out, 45-degree angle from the goals at the southern end. That's where the Canberra Demons are firing towards at the moment, if you only just joined us on NEAFL TV. As the ball goes to the ground now, tapping it through the bottom of the pack was Richardson. A couple of Demons players in there and taking it out over the boundary line. The Riverina boy, Lucas Moline, as he is slung over the line in a tackle. The throw will take place 50 around now. Building in the background, that's a new cricket centre that's been constructed here. This ground, which was very well used in the 80s and early 90s in Canberra, went through a period of disuse, but now very much a hub for sport. The kick off the bounce so eventually comes to Smith. It's a high up and under, a bit of wrestle there. No whistle from the umpire. Now the umpire does find a whistle, and the free kick goes to Toby Wooler. He sends the ball over on the inside there, finds Coleman. Coleman with a teammate on the run. Now they've got further up ground Nick Robertson. He was in a good form in the warm-up earlier today. Goes for the hand pass. He finds then Christensen in towards full forward, and good spoiling tactics from Alex Paik there, managing to keep the ball away, and then gets it away himself, gets the kick downfield and was bumped after he kicked it. Umpire says it's all play on. Paik's still taking a long time. I think it is Paik still taking a long time to get up to of his feet, and Brisbane have the ball. Eddie, you call that. I'll keep an eye downfield.
A little bit concerning for the Demons earlier that they've dominated disposal and inside 50 and are yet to really have a proper shot on goal. The ball's inside 50 here for the Lions. It's off hands. We'll have a throw-in just underneath that electronic scoreboard, which I must say is a lot easier to read this week in the afternoon than it was last Friday night, and it tells us that the Lions lead 1-0. But decent start for the Demons. They don't seem overawed by coming up against an opponent which has just one non-AFL listed player. Gideon Coleman is the only non-AFL listed player in this Lions team today.
No relation.
No relation to you, Chris, but he's a pretty good player. So he's certainly not just making up the numbers. The Lions are inside 50. Short pass in the direction of Keys, and Keys takes the mark, and he'll look to go back and add to already his 16 goals so far this NEAFL season. Just
been keeping an eye, Eddie, on the players who were down there. It wasn't just Paik who went down. Vardaniga went down, and indeed it was Vardaniga who was taking longer to get up. They both appear to be up and moving okay, so no early injury concerns for the home side.
Ben Keys is third in the NEAFL MVP, 16 goals from his 4 games so far this season. He'll kick from about 45 metres out, goes with the left foot, might have just put it across the face, he has. So that's 2 behinds for the Lions. The Demons are yet to score. We've gone nearly 6.5 minutes in this opening quarter. The kick in from Canberra ends up over the boundary line. Not called out of bounds on the full, so we'll get a throw in. But the ball's still inside 50 for Brisbane.
It was a risky kick in there. Nick Ano for the Canberra Demons. Is it his Canberra Demons debut? It is. He has played in the NEAFL in the past in the red and white of Sydney. It was in his general direction, but he wasn't able to get to it. Ball comes back in now, but again, it's the Lions too fast and too hard. Bastanak gets an up and under kick away. Now chasing after it is Pollock for the Demons, but it trickles over the line and for another throw in there. I don't think we mentioned Ano in the build-up to this match, so congratulations to him making his debut. And Eddie, I know you ran into him last night, and something that I think would almost be quintessentially Canberran in the world of Aussie rules, which we'll get to a little bit later on this afternoon. Ball back in play again. That's a good jump from Maynard, but the hand pass from the air goes into the path of Taylor, who's been busy for the Lions. He fights over to Bastanak, who's likewise been busy. Underneath it there, I reckon, was Robertson. Couldn't take the mark. Ball in a hot dispute at the moment, 20 out from the goal, but a Canberra player's been bumped off it, and it'll be coming back to the Demons for a free kick. So the Demons, well, they're defending well at the moment. They've restricted the Lions to just the 2 points, but it's defence really hasn't been a problem for Canberra this season. It's been at the other end of the ground where things have been breaking down. The ball going around the outside now. Vardaniga can't get a handle on it, taps it to his own advantage in the contest, and it goes out over the boundary line. And our first throw in from the extreme opposite side of Football Park, or Phillip Oval, just adjacent to the Canberra Demons sign. There's a couple of changes made for the Demons, with Powell coming on. Likewise, onto the ground comes Alex Canash. So he's been off, he's been on, and he's off, and he's back on again.
Demons missing a few players today. Cade Klemke, the playing coach, is having a rest. He'll still be coaching. And they had a couple of injuries. Riley Budd and Don Roberts both out of the side as Christensen kicks the ball free from the contest, puts it out into a bit of space on our broadcast side of the ground. Bastanak just soccers it inside 50. Running onto it there was Berry, who knocked it forward to Keys. Keys goes with the centering ball, and Robertson takes the mark directly in front.
Been impressed by him so far today. He's really getting himself involved in the contest there, and not just necessarily chasing for the possessions, but just getting himself positioned well so that it sometimes is opening up gaps for his teammates. This time able to take advantage of it for himself.
So the Lions, with their third shot on goal, Damon's yet to have a shot on goal. The Lions will want to make sure they are making the most of some of these opportunities early. The kick will be pretty much directly in front. He won't kick from much more than 35 metres out. No real wind to speak of today here at Phillip. He goes off the right, and he's kicked the goal, so no problems there. The Lions have their first. They're 1-8. The Demons yet to score.
Well, Nicholas Robertson, a good start for him there. These sides both ringing the changes. I think we just saw 7 changes happening at the interchange gates while the setup was going on for Robertson to take his shot at goal there. So plenty of shuffling around. And here comes an 8th change now as making his way out onto the ground goes Cedric Cox, replacing Benjamin Keys. So that's not bad. 8 changes in less than a minute. And it's going to be one of those afternoons here this afternoon. But the Lions, well, they don't need to do a lot here. They just need to play their regular game. The Demons will need to lift this afternoon. They're not outclassed, but they've just, as we've said a couple of times this year, Eddie, they've just got to find a way to break that nexus at their half-forward line. It's been a real problem for them across the course of the year. Ball back in play, and they send it down towards their half-forward line now. Waiting underneath it is Pollock, but there's 3 Brisbane players in there. Fall was in there at the fall of the ball. And in the end, it's come away clearing kick. Only gets as far as several Canberra players. Powell was one of them, turning around, gives it back to a teammate, but the mark taken very deep in defence by the Lions, and they can turn it around one more time. There's this man I've been impressed with so far, Robertson. Kicks a goal a minute ago. Now he's up the far end of the ground, trying to get it onto Archie Smith, but Smith can't get there in time. Ball goes out over the boundary line for a throw-in. About 70 around from the Canberra Demons goal. I said there was a bit of breeze earlier. There was earlier this morning, but it seems to have settled down now. So really a lovely day for footy here at Canberra. We had an interesting game earlier today in the juniors. Marist College versus Eastlake, the local club that is often the parent club, if you like, of this Canberra side. Marist getting up after a couple of late goals, and there was a good crowd here as well for that one. And it seems that many of those people have gone up to the canteen, grabbed a bite to eat, and decided to hang around this afternoon. So a goodish crowd here at Footy Park, or Phillip Oval, in the nation's capital. We've had one throw in over there. Another one comes in now. Smith gets set underneath it and flies high, punches it into the path of 3 or 4 Canberra players. I reckon it might have been Smout who was in there who got the best of it. There's plenty of Canberra players in numbers, but Brisbane just too many skills at the moment as they kick it away into the path of Connor McFadden. McFadden has lost the pill, getting a handle on it for just a moment, a couple of the Canberra players, but it's becoming flies around the honeypot stuff. Can anyone clear it away? Well, the Demons can, and the kick goes downfield now. We'll just wait and see where it comes. Again, hot contested ball. In underneath it, I think it might have been Hinge over there. They turn around the lines now. Not getting too far with it, but stabilising influence for them is Robertson. He takes a mark just after the ball's gone the 15 metres, settles things down for a moment, sends the ball back into the centre square, and they're away again. Through might be Keys, the Brisbane Lions. Turning it around, waiting on this side of the ground would be Lions, and Lions gets the ball now, puts a little ball forward to centre half forward, where it's taken by Fullerton. Fullerton doesn't waste any time, sends it up forward. He's got plenty of options, and he clears the lot of them. The ball goes out over the boundary line.
Good defensive pressure there from Jonathan Spina, one of 3 players back into the side for Canberra this week. He played in that first game where they beat the Gold Coast Suns, but was injured pretty early. So Spina, a recruit from Lavington, coming back into the Demons team today. Adam Kanash is also back, and I think he'll be important up in the forward line where things fell down a bit last week against the Giants. And as we touched on earlier, Nick Ano making his debut after finger surgery early in the season. He had to come back via the local AFL Canberra competition with the Gungahlin Jets and making his Demons debut today. From the contest, a snap-on goal from Matheson. And it's a goal. The Lions have two. They're 2-2-14. The Demons are still yet to score.
Good ruck work in there off the stoppage from Archie Smith. Grabbed the ball and just went for the kick as soon as his feet landed on the ground. Kicked it into a contest, but there was just too much strength from the Brisbane side. And as you mentioned, Reece Matheson, the man who was able to get to the fall of the ball and sends it around on the snap. 2-2-14, the Brisbane Lions. The Canberra Demons yet to score. 13 minutes gone in the opening quarter. Saturday afternoon, NEAFL footy from Canberra.
A lot of class in this Brisbane side, and we're starting to see early why they have been so dominant so far this season. You look through the list. Alan Christensen is a Geelong Premiership player back in 2011. Ryan Bastanak, I remember when he burst onto the scene with North Melbourne, now on the Brisbane Lions rookie list, having been delisted and then picked back up again. And you've got some of these young up-and-coming players. Robertson, how good has he been so far today? It's knocked down the Lions' way again. They should get the clearance out of the mud. It's sockered forward, but sitting back there is Ano. Took the mark, handed it off to Moline. Moline kicks to the wing to a one-on-one contest. The ball comes to the back. It should sit up okay there for Hardy, who managed to keep it in play for the time being. Demons get there in numbers. This is better from Canberra. The hand pass was towards Maynard. In the end, he had to lay a tackle, and he causes a stalemate. No, he wins holding the ball, so good play there by Nick Ano. The umpire decided there was just enough prior opportunity.
Well, the player got to take 2 steps, so...
And it's Josh Maynard there, the ruckman with the free kick. Handed it off to Moline. Goes inside 50. And again, an inside 50 from the Demons with
just wasted.
No real
purpose, direction.
Direction is the word I was looking for, Chris.
I was working through the thesaurus, Eddie. I had a few others that I could have come up with. Glad you chose that one. We'll save the others for later.
But they are in there. And look, Maynard, it's tough for him in the ruck against AFL class opposition every week. He's averaged just over 26 hit-outs per game. If he can get on top in the ruck, that will give Canberra a bit of impetus. So can Maynard try and set something up from this boundary throw? And he won the hit-out down to the front. There's a pack over the ball. We'll get another ball up inside 50 for Canberra. They're still yet to get on the scoreboard. Haven't had a shot on goal yet, the Demons, and we've gone nearly 15 minutes in this opening quarter. Highmore's trying to get hold of the footy, but it will come out the Lions' way. There's Coleman. He kicks them out of defence. It's out in front of 2 players. Richardson is leading the race for the ball for Canberra. He gathers, he turns around, he wheels onto the right foot, sends it towards half 50, but there's plenty of Lions back there, and Coleman gets his hands on the ball again. Thought about the hand pass, elects to just chip it short. It's marked by Bastanak, and now the Lions are out of trouble here with Ryan Bastanak next to his opposing number 4 in Aaron Bruce. Goes very short to Taylor, who takes the mark just inside the field of play. He goes very short, and he's put it out on the full, trying to kick it to Matheson. Alex Paik will get the resulting free for Canberra, and so they can try and go forward again.
Eddie, we often complain about the play being on the very far side of the ground here. We don't see a lot of it this close to the boundary line. Maybe that's why, because it's gone out on the full on that occasion, and now the Demons have turned it around. They give it to Skinner. Skinner goes for the centering kick, and there's that man again, Robertson. Can you see how many kicks he's had already today, Eddie? Because I think he's had quite a few. Going around the other side now with Hinge. Hinge can't hang on to it on the ground, taps it to his own advantage, and then a teammate is tripped, and the umpire has called that. So it'll be coming back for a free kick there for, I think it might be Corey Lyons. 6
disposals so far for Robertson and that goal. Concerning for the Demons, the Lions have 21 marks to just 4.
Ooh. That is concerning. Keys was the target in attack there for the Brisbane Lions. Couldn't get to the ball, and it's gone out over the boundary line. Throw-in to take place, 30 around from the Brisbane Lions goal as we get up to 16 and a half minutes gone in the first quarter. We'll have a chat at some stage this afternoon too, Eddie, about the Canberra Demons who've nominated for the mid-season AFL draft, because there's quite a few of them out there. As the ball's back in play now, as we wait to see if anyone can come away with it. Umpire says play on, throws the arms up in the air, and the Demons do play on. Every player on the field, by the way, is in that half of the ground, and that's really not a tactic that's going to work out terribly well for the Canberra Demons, because it'll just mean Brisbane, if they can get the ball, they'll be able to run with their superior fitness and to get the ball into space, as they do now via Christensen. Christensen sends it back into the middle of the ground, just getting the hand pass away in time, but it's cut off there. That's been cut off by the Canberra side, and now going into the forward line, that might be Reece Pollock chasing. If he can get around in front of Christensen, he's got the open goal, but Christensen has it, turns around, sends it over his right shoulder into the path of Taylor. Taylor then back on the inside to Coleman. Now it's back to Taylor. Good little 1-2 from those players. The ball, oh, look at that, cuts through the middle of the pack there to Smith. Eli Smith it is this time. He finds now Joyce, Thomas Joyce, with a teammate who puts it onto the boot very, very quickly. They come up just outside 50. That'd be Fullerton looking for the centering kick. He had the call on there from Robertson, but it's been cut off there by Maynard for Canberra. Now they rebound on the far side of the ground via Canash. He's looking for the only Canberra Demons player in 100 metres there, and that's Hardy. So Hardy has some work to do. There's 4 or 5 Brisbane players for him to get around. He's got Owen Orban there, and that's a good mark on the chest by Connor Owen Orban. Hard to say, hard to take, but he gets the mark, and now I reckon he's going to back himself for the shot here. He's only going to be about 30 out, but a pretty acute angle.
They just need to take marks inside 50.
It'd help.
It helps when the forward line is open like that, when they were able to open things up from the contest and a turnover and have that player able to take the mark on the lead. Too often they kick it onto someone's head, but on that situation, Mitch Hardy, nice kick. Can Owen Orban get the Demons first?
Well, Connor Owen Orban from about 40. It started off to the right, and it stays off to the right, and indeed doesn't even register a score. It's out of bounds on the full. Brisbane will bring it back into play, and they'll work it around the outer side of Football Park, Phillip Oval, but there's plenty of blue jerseys there. But flying is Thomas Berry for the Brisbane Lions. He takes a mark 55 out.
So Berry has the footy on the half-back flank for the Lions. In defence of Canberra, they've kept the Lions, relatively muted. 2-2-14. The Demons yet to score. So the Demons' defence and midfield doing okay. It's just that last kick inside 50 that hurts them a lot. The Demons have got the ball back here with Baker, one of those 9 Demons players to nominate for the AFL mid-season draft. He kicks it towards half forward. There are plenty of Lions sitting back. We do see the AFL sides in the NEAFL. They set up very well in defence. They're learning their AFL team set up here in the NEAFL competition, and then when they get promoted to the senior team, they're able to take those tactics through. The Lions have worked it forward of the wing, but sitting back here is Ben House, who will pick the ball up off pretty wet turf. He's tackled. Umpire calls play on. Ruled it was knocked out in the tackle.
Martin
Still we wait.
Martin it was who slid in underneath.
We get a ball up. So perhaps a little bit lucky there for the Canberra Demons.
Took a risk, did Martin, didn't he?
Here on the broadcast side of the ground. We did see a pretty harsh holding the ball paid against the Lions only a couple of minutes ago. Maynard went up against Archie Smith in ruck. Smout laid a tackle. We'll get another ball up between wing and half forward for Brisbane, who hold a 14-point lead. We're approaching time on in the first quarter. Maynard is in front of Archie Smith, but Smith probably got hands to it. It came down the way of Wooler, but now it's turned over to Moline, who gives it off there to Evans. Evans kicks forward to the wing. The kick was touched. Bruce has to lay a tackle for Canberra. The ball comes out to Christensen, who gives it off to Madden. Now they should be away through Bastanak, the Lions. Bastanak kicks into the middle of Phillip Oval, where he spots up Cox.
Cox sending the ball forward, waiting for it there was Joyce, but it went past him, and once again the rebound is on for the Demons. They come back via Martin. Martin gets it around to Bruce. Bruce has to wait for a moment. He's got Hardy running on. Has he spotted him? He has, but it goes just to the just too far for him. Canash, now back to Hardy. He can run, he can shoot. He's done this a million times, but he's missed. It's off to the right. And no score again. So the Canberra Demons, well, they're getting plenty inside the 50. Let's have a quick look there. In fact, the inside 50s are 9 apiece at the moment, but Canberra yet to yield anything from it. Brisbane have the 4 scoring shots, 2-2-14. As coming back onto the field is Matt Vardaniga. He's replacing Alex Smout coming off as well. And now another man coming back on in Time Highmore. We wait for... Oh, actually, we've got a free kick going here. Sorry, I'd looked down at the interchange gate. So Hardy's going to get another shot at this.
Yeah, it looks like he was pushed after he kicked, Chris, and so Mitch Hardy will get a second bite at the cherry.
Well, he's had a sighter, so to speak. He did that one on the fly. This one should be easier for him. Still a pretty acute angle. Goal umpire moves a bit across to the right. Well, improving by degrees, and at least Canberra have got themselves on the board, Hardy, with a point this afternoon. Canberra, 1 point. Brisbane, 14, courtesy of 2 goals, 2 behinds. 22 gone at Footy Park in Phillip. And the ball, well, the Brisbane Lions, they're not mucking around. They bring it back into play, and the long bomb coming. The target is Ballenden on the wing, and he takes the mark in front.
So Ballenden looks to get it moving quickly. He caught Taylor a bit unaware. Taylor had to give it to Archie Smith, gave it back to Ballenden, now back to Smith. Smith, right foot kick inside 50. Pake's in the best position, had to spoil in the end. Baker might have been pushed in the back. Umpire calls play on. We'll get a ball up inside 50 for the Lions, who led by 13 points. We've gone more than 22 minutes in this opening quarter as the Demons just try and settle. It's thrown up, knocked down by Ballenden, straight to Maguire, who's tackled, and we'll get another ball up inside 50. Mitch Maguire, another one of these 9 Canberra Demons players who have put their hands up for the AFL mid-season draft. Slapped forward by Ballenden for Brisbane. It's out in the pocket. Baker lays a strong tackle, and we'll get a ball up right on the boundary line. So still locked inside the Brisbane Lions 50 as they try and get their 3rd goal of the match. Umpire getting ready to throw it up, waiting for the ruckman to nominate. Ballenden gets to the contest eventually, and we're ready to throw it up. It's knocked down by Highmore, I think, doing the ruck there for Canberra, which is unusual. It might have even been Harry Carr. Now a shot on goal from that man again, Nick Robertson. Can he kick his second? He can. Well, he's having a blinder today, Nick Robertson. That's disposal number 8 and goal number 2, and the Lions have 3.
Not a bad first quarter. And you'd think that Canberra, having contained the Brisbane side to 14 points in the first 22, 23 minutes of this quarter, would have been happy with it. But just starting to see Brisbane turning up the wick just a little bit here. And, well, they've won their games, as you mentioned earlier, Eddie, by an average of 74, 75 points across the course of the season. And, well, that means they're outscoring sides by about 20 points a quarter. And they lead 20 points to 1 at the moment.
And, you know, we don't want to sound like a broken record, but the Demons' problem is not so much defence. It's the midfield is strong, Smout, Maguire and co. But it's when they go inside 50, how are they going inside 50? How easy or difficult are they making it for their forwards? They'll try and get it forward again, Smout with the clearance, but the kick was smothered, so the ball's in dispute there on the wing. It
is indeed, and it's Toby Waller for the Brisbane Lions who, well, he tapped it a couple of times and then went up diving on it. Bottom of the pack there, wait for it to come clear, see if anyone can have it. Owen Orban gets some sort of a disposal away. A couple of Canberra players with the short ball. This is interesting, the short tactics from them. Eventually it comes around and they get it on to Aino. Aino now with a long ball. He's got a couple of men on the outside. Will the ball stay in or out? It takes a fortuitous bounce for Canberra. It's picked up by Richardson. He has on his outside Pollock. Pollock has time to run and get himself set. Oh, it's a hurried kick though, and again a wasted opportunity. Robertson picks it up, gives it to a teammate, gets it back, goes for the right foot now, over to the far side of the ground. And again, we can see it's the Brisbane Lions bringing it around through Wooler. Again, it might have been. He's looking for Keys at full forward, but that one's gone out over the boundary line. Out on the full, in fact, so it'll be a kick to take place. Is it out on the full?
Yep.
It is out on the full, yeah. Sorry, just no one's rushing to go and get the ball there. Just making sure for a second there that we weren't going to get it an unexpected throw-in. So the kick-in will come from the Demons.
Looks like Baker there in the pocket.
And Baker turns and sends it back towards a contest. There's plenty of players on the centre wing position. Pack flies. No one able to get it there. Chasing in after it was Carr. And now they turn around and they're on the run here, the Canberra side. Who's up forward for them? I saw Pollock was calling for it, saying go long, go long. In underneath it was Owen Orban. Now he's got Pollock running into the goal square. He's on his own, he's unopposed. Oh, that's great defence from Coleman, but Pollock has been able to pick it up. Should have just turned and had a shot, instead hand passes. Gives it then on to Osborne. Osborne sends it up high. Has it clipped the post on the way through? It has. Oh, that would have been the goal of the day for the Canberra Demons because that was good team footy, but they get a point out of it. Not 2-2 to the Brisbane Lions, 3-2-20. 26-minute mark about to tick up, and a couple of changes for Canberra coming back on. Kel Evans and Jonathan Spina is about to be joined by Alex Kanash. So, Cade Klemke ringing the changes from up in the coach's box. He's just through the wall to our left, Eddie. We can't hear him shouting with frustration just yet, but it might come later on.
His style.
Oh, you never know. We might see what happens, but the Lions taking it away around the far side of the ground with Reece Matheson.
And Kel Evans, when he does come onto the field, Chris, he is absolutely covered in mud on the back of his jersey. So his number 15 not looking too visible. As the Lions, they should get another shot on goal here because Eli Smith has taken the mark just inside 50, pretty much directly in front. Does he have the distance? That'll be the question. Eli Smith, we saw last night a shot on goal that didn't quite have the distance. Smith ends up kicking into the pocket. He's turned it over. Looks like it might be Richardson, or in fact it is Richardson who's marked in the pocket for Canberra. Kicks across the face of goal, dangerously. Turnover, another shot here for the Lions.
Oh.
Don't make them pay a behind. Brisbane at 3-3-21. The Demons 2 behinds. I'm not sure about kicking across the face of goal when you've got so many players there in the 50.
No, bomb it long, get it out of there. Even if you're kicking to vacant space, give someone a chance to run into it. And Berry knew that he'd wasted an opportunity there with that one. As the Lions are back out to a 19-point break. Ball coming back around Maynard. The target gets in front of Archie Smith, takes the mark. Now he's got on his outside Bruce. Bruce, well, he's made a meal of it, and then he's slung in the tackle, gets the hand pass away. A couple of players possible for it. Maguire has it, and on his outside he had Baker, but Maguire's kick is straight into the path of Payne. Jack Payne for the Brisbane Lions, who takes the mark just outside his defensive 50. And again, they just reset and switch it over to the far side of the ground once again. Coming in forward for them, I reckon that will be Fullerton. Looking on the inside, he could go to Matheson, doesn't. He's got several other options. He's got Smith on the inside as well, but instead goes up the line and finds Bastanak. Bastanak getting there without too much trouble. They just stop and set and really play with their opposition at times, don't they? Matheson, I think it is, a long way from us at the moment. It is that man. Now he comes back inside, and Bastanak gets another possession. He has Christensen. They can just sit and wait. Christensen challenged for a moment by Connor Owen Orban, but no real problem for them. It's almost as though they're down at the club and deciding who's going to get the raffle tickets here. It comes down back inside the forward 50. Now there's a bit of a contest, and the ball at the bottom of it will be balled up in just a moment, with the Brisbane Lions leading by 19 points.
So we must be getting towards the end of the quarter. We've gone more than 28 and a half minutes. Brisbane into attack again. They'll be keen to get a late goal to just take even more momentum into the second term. Smout with the clearance. He's Canberra's leading the disposal winner so far, but his kick is turned over. It's marked there by Payne, who gave it off to Christensen. Plenty of the footy in this first quarter for Alan Christensen. Sends the Lions back inside 50. Highmore was underneath it. Archie Smith came from the side. The Demons will be able to run it out. Maguire, his kick is to Pollock. Pollock takes the overhead mark. Just goes back, waits for some options. He's got Tom Fall on short, or Smout as well. In the end, it won't get to any of them. It's quarter time at Footy Park, and the Demons, a difficult first quarter for them. They have 2 behinds. The Brisbane Lions are 3-3-21. It's a 19-point margin at the first break.
Indeed it is. Goal scorers there. Robertson getting 2 and Matheson getting 1 for the Brisbane Lions. No one contributing via any majors for the Canberra Demons. And Eddie, just a little bit of indecision in a couple of places there, costing the Canberra Demons dearly.
Yeah, look, we look at the inside 50 count, Chris, and it's 13. What is it? It's 12. Yeah, it's 13-12. So there's not much difference. There's next nothing in it, yeah. It's just what you do with it. And you look at the marks. Brisbane is leading the marks 44-11, which tells you that when Brisbane has the ball, it's easy. They're spotting up options, but when Canberra has the ball, they're under enormous pressure. They can't find a target on the full by foot. So they need to try and address that. Brisbane leads the disposals 116-87. Alan Christensen has 12 touches. Lewis Taylor has 10. Nick Robertson has 9. Ryan Bastanak has 8. Hinge has 8 as well. And you've got Archie Smith with 7, Coleman and Matheson with 6. 6 is the leading disposal getter for the Demons. Mitch Maguire has had 6 disposals, which are 4 hand passes and 2 kicks. So the Lions, just with so many class players at the top of that list, Christensen, Taylor, Robertson, Bastanak, Hinge, and weight of numbers is winning out in the end. But it's not weight of inside 50s. It's just how they're using the ball.
Yeah, you talked about the difference in the marking count, and yeah, that 44-11, as you mentioned there, what that also says is that when Brisbane have got the ball, they're keeping the ball and they're using the ball. Canberra, on the other hand, they're getting the ball and they are turning it over from time to time. But it is quarter time here at Football Park, Phillip Oval, in the nation's capital, where the Lions lead 3-3-21 to the Canberra Demons 0-2-2. Second quarter about to start at Football Park, Phillip Oval, just across the way from one of Canberra's town centres, the Woden Town Centre, about half a kilometre to the south of this ground, and it is the Brisbane Lions leading 3-3-21 over the home side, the Canberra Demons. Yet to register a major this afternoon, but they do have two behinds for their efforts in the first quarter. We saw Cade Klemke, normally the playing coach, out there coaching and not playing today. He was down there fairly vocal in his address at quarter time as the ball goes down in the middle of the ground. No real clear advantage, and Maynard, well, he lumbers around and finally gets boot to ball, sends it into the path of Owen Auburn. He can't do anything with it, but good pressure continuing from the Canberra Demons, and it was Hardy who got a tap away. Now through hands, Highmore, a little bit of a hand pass to him. He sends it back into the pack with Richardson. He taps it further forward. There's one Brisbane player and about three Canberra players involved in it. See if it can come out, or if the umpire wants to repossess. Eventually it comes out. I think that may have been Smout who had it, but he's put it into the path of Bastanak for Brisbane, and he just clears it, hoofs it downfield into the middle of the centre square. It's still with Canberra though, as Martin picks it up, turns it around, couple of quick hand passes, real hot potato stuff, and the ball eventually comes out into the way of Richardson again. Richardson then gets it back to House. House tried to go 1-2 with Richardson, but they've turned it over, and now the Lions have it, and then they lose it. Good tackle by Owen Auburn, but there's too many Lions players there. Short kick for them, and it's picked up in the middle of the ground by Martin. Martin then put down onto his backside by McFadgen. Ball still being contested here, waiting to see if Eli Smith can get a hand pass away. He can't. Umpire will come in and bounce it. Well, for the first 60 seconds there, Eddie, it was on for young and old.
Well, whatever Cade Klemke said at quarter time, it's working so far. Maynard up in ruck against Smith. Maynard knocked it down. But it ends up the Lions' way. Robertson with another disposal. Puts it on the right boot. Kicks it to the wing. It's a bouncing ball. It comes now to Cox. He received it from Keys. He kicks it towards the half-forward line. Paik is chasing it back. Baker took possession of the ball. He was taken over the boundary line and will get a throw-in. More or less right on 50 or just outside 50 for the Brisbane Lions. Going to the right of your screen to the Woden end in this second quarter, with the Demons kicking to the northern end of the ground. Smith starts behind Maynard at the boundary throw-in. In the end, the throw-in cleared both of them, and it came to Richardson, who sold a bit of candy. Kicks to the wing. Highmore has two opponents to beat. He's in the middle of them. He couldn't quite do it. He's not happy that the mark was paid to his opponent there in Berry, but that is the decision the umpire has made. Berry's kick is forward for Matheson, who swings it towards full forward. In the end, it'll score, but it'll only score one behind. It's away to the right, and the Lions now have an even 20-point lead.
Interesting. I'm just keeping an eye on the Brisbane bench for a moment. Eli Smith came off there, and he was signalling rather urgently that he wanted to come off about 45 seconds ago. He's made his way off, and he's just gone straight to the bench and he's sat down. I don't think he's being treated, but we'll just see whether he does come back on or if he's got any problem. Canberra with the ball now through Paik. He works around the outside and finds Martin. Martin can't get there, had to stand and wait, and was almost hung out to dry as Berry came in and punched it over the boundary line. So Brisbane will keep it inside their forward 50. They lead by 20 at the moment as the umpire takes it and waits to send it back in. Field umpires today, by the way, David Harris, Chris Brackenridge and Dean Garraway. Ball comes back in courtesy of one of the boundary umpires. Big push from Maynard, gets a tap onto it, but it only goes as far as Bastanak, sends it in towards the hot spot just at the top of the goal square. Plenty of push and shove. Umpire has said the biggest push and shove came into Angus Baker's back, and he will take the kick, send it around the outer side of the ground here. Mitch Hardy is his target, and Hardy takes the mark on his chest, has on his inside Osborne, elects not to go there as plenty of Canberra players flood upfield and very nearly spoiling each other, Baker and House, but Baker it is who then continues to send Canberra forward, but only the halfway line, as once again it is the Lions who cut them off, and a pass on the inside to Kadeem Coleman. Now around the grandstand side they'll come. Robertson can allow it to bounce a couple of times, picks it up just off his right shoulder, decides to go for the hand pass, sends it to Matheson. He can bomb long and does so, goes actually across the face. There's a couple of players waiting for it, and underneath it, I reckon that's Cedric Cox who's got it. It is. He's picked it up and he's got the mark there. Brisbane making it look very easy off the turnover.
Oh, they are, aren't they? And all those important players are involved. Christensen to Robertson to Matheson. The kick inside 50 and the mark inside 50, something the Demons haven't been able to do. And Cedric Cox looking for his first goal.
The one thing that Canberra can be thankful for is that they've made Brisbane kick a few of their set shots from angles, and that again makes it just a little bit harder, and Cedric Cox unable to convert. It's another minor score for the Lions, 3-5-23. The Demons 0-2-2. We're about to see 5 changes made here for Canberra. Oh, they've made a meal out of the restart. It's come back off hands to Joyce. Joyce has the shot. Oh, they don't come much easier. And they really don't come, and I don't mean this in an unkind way, they don't come much more undeserved. But Canberra made a meal out of that straight away, and Joyce was there to pounce. That's the 4th for the Lions, 4-5-29, Canberra 0-2-2.
We are seeing a lot of quick kick-ins in Aussie rules this season. Some of the changes to the rules around the defensive goal square and the kick-in, and that one up the middle. And, you know, we've been encouraging the Demons to take the game on this season, to go up the middle. Didn't come off that time.
Maybe a little longer up.
Goal square. Look, goals from turnovers are a big factor in the modern game, and it was a factor right there.
Well, Brisbane, they'll be starting to feel pretty happy about how their day in Canberra is going so far. Ball back in the middle with umpire Dean. It's just the turnovers, Eddie. It comes back now through Christensen. Ball in the way, picked up by the Demons, but the short hand passes aren't going to do them much. They need to get it out of dodge. And again, look at this, it's just all Brisbane. There's so many of them in there. Waiting for someone to see if they can get a clean possession. Picked up, oh, look at that going through. That speed was Hinge. Hinge turns around. Sent it back to, I reckon it was Fullerton. Now over to the band who's been busy for them. Robertson, he sends it into the path of Ballenden again. Turnover, and Canberra, well, they'll get a moment's reprieve, but that's all it'll be because it's Payne takes a mark for the Lions on centre wing.
Jack Payne sends Brisbane back inside 50. Kicks into the pocket, no mark. It'll fall to Keys. He keeps it in play. He's tackled. Umpire calls play on. Eventually we will get a ball up just inside the field of play in front of the new cricket centre here at Phillip. The Lions looking for their 5th goal. They already have a 27-point lead. Demons yet to kick a goal. We're early in the second quarter. It's knocked down to Powell. Powell gave the hand pass to Martin, who fed it backwards to Smout. His kick is towards Paik, and Paik takes the overhead mark, and the Demons can just take a few deep breaths. Paik kicks for Highmore. It's knocked away from him. He's got Richardson there in support. In the end, Richardson just sees it over the boundary line. We'll get a throw in front of that Brisbane Lions interchange gate. Jack Powell getting his hands on the ball there. Another player that's put his hand up for the mid-season draft, but didn't see much of Jack Powell in the first quarter. He's had 2 hand passes so far today. It's thrown in. Maynard won that one down. It's in dispute at half forward for Brisbane. Hand pass comes to Robertson. He's tackled by Pollock. Managed to knock the ball free. Martin's tracking it back. Comes out now the way of Baker. Looping hand pass from Baker. It's knocked away by Osborne. Pollock's chasing after it as well, but Christensen gets there first. He's brought to ground. We will get another stoppage, and we've got a helicopter flying over Football Park here at Phillip, so they're getting an excellent view of this afternoon's match as the Demons work it to the wing. Reece Pollock with the hand pass. It now comes inboard. Maguire couldn't take it, ends up with Powell. So getting a bit of the footy in the second quarter is Jack Powell. Now they've got an open forward line. This should be a goal to the Demons. Harry Carr takes the mark. He runs in. He puts it through, and the Demons are on the board.
Well, no problems for traffic for Carr there because he was out there on the open road and banged it through between the big sticks, and the Canberra fans most appreciative of that first major for the home side, the Savo.
Just takes a bit of pressure off getting that first goal. And Harry Carr is the man with the score to his name. He'd been quiet early as well. That was his first disposal, Harry Carr. Not a bad first disposal to have running into the open goal.
Saw him unusually in the ruck for a couple of contests in that first quarter, but that's one for the highlight reel for you, Harry. Well done. As the Lions see their lead cut to 21 points. Canberra 1-2-8, Brisbane 4-5-29. 9-minute mark approaching here at Phillip Oval in Canberra.
It was all happening in that passage of play.
All go.
It was a bit choppy. We're back in the middle. Demons need to try and make the most of this because they're only 21 points down. You know, they're not out of the match. We've been talking about how dominant Brisbane has been in the NEAFL this season, but the Demons are in touch and they've got a bit of momentum and they've got the centre clearance. The kick comes forward towards Richardson. It's knocked away from him. In fact, it was Pollock, but he did well to chase the footy, gave the hand pass off to Carr. Carr gives to Hardy. Hardy from outside 50 to the open goal square. Misses to the right.
Highmore was thinking about it. He was under it, he was waiting for it, but it just travelled too far. Brisbane bring it straight out through Skinner. Going around the grandstand side, waiting for it is Keys and Smith. Smith can't take the mark, goes out over the boundary line, does it, stays in play, then it goes out over the boundary line. Keys disappointed, he thought he'd done enough there. Umpire was in good position, and you'll get a great view of the ruck contest here as it's thrown in just to the right of our commentary position here at Phillip Oval. A couple of interchanges happening at the same time. So a very congested sideline of Football Park. The ball comes away and punched eventually by Lions, but it's Canberra once again who get it. The very dirty jumper of Kel Evans. Ball comes away from Powell to Hardy, back to Powell, and then he goes forward and finds Osborne. Osborne bombs it long into the goal square. That's a mark, and I think it might be Bruce who's taken it. One of the hardest parts of the ground there. We went for a walk on the ground earlier and found it's a bit hard in the goal square. He's put life and limb on the line there to take the mark there, Eddie.
Well, the captain, to try and kick their second goal, shouldn't have any problem from this distance. And the Demons have just got a bit of a buzz about them in this second quarter, looking for 2 goals on the trot.
And they get 2 goals in a row. Aaron Bruce gets into the scorebook, and Canberra move on to 2-3-15. Brisbane 4-5-29. And slightly longer kicking game from Canberra perhaps here. The one thing that I've spotted a couple of times, we've only seen it once so far here, is that Canberra, when they kick it longer with purpose, as opposed to letting it hang in the air, instead of going for the high kick, going for the longer kick, they do seem to be able to get around the Brisbane side. We saw a couple of kicks, especially one down just inside the 50 to the right of screen, Eddie, earlier, where the ball was just kicked a little bit elevated and the man waiting underneath it was just hung out to dry. We've seen a couple of those, but the longer, more direct route for Canberra does seem to be working at the moment.
Win, lose or draw today, the Demons certainly seem to be taking the game on in this second quarter, and you're right, trying to go a bit more direct towards goal. Osborne got a hand pass out, but he couldn't find a teammate. Archie Smith's kick was partially smothered, made its way to Cox. His hand pass comes inside 50. Now it's fed back there towards Lions, who goes inside 50. They'll get another mark and another shot on goal here, Brisbane, and it looks like Ballenden will be the man to take the kick.
Talk about the direct pass. That was the direct pass. Don't put it up in the air, just put it in the direction you need to go. You'll get a few extra metres on it and kick it straight to the man. Ballenden will say thank you very much here. This one, not terribly difficult for him.
So Connor Ballenden, he'll kick from just inside 50 off to right half forward. Kick looks pretty good. Kick is a goal. The Lions get one back. And they're back out to that 20-point lead. They're 5-5-35. The Demons 2-3-15.
There's been 2 goals apiece so far this quarter. A much more entertaining quarter of footy here, with the Demons turning on the physicality just a little bit more than they did in the opening term. 12.5 gone at Phillip Oval.
You just look at how easily the Lions did that, though, and how much hard work it has been for the Demons to get those first 2 goals. That was all just a bit too easy, but when the pass is that nice low height, the perfect height, that nothing the defender can do there to knock the ball away. There's just a lot of class on the field today for the Lions.
Well, this is what we see from time to time in the NEAFL. When you get a side that is really switched on, and they've got the AFL club infrastructure backing them, up against a side that is, for want of a better word, a semi-professional outfit like the Canberra Demons. You are going to see this from time to time. Of course, the contests become a bit tighter towards the end of the season. Canberra have it now through Baker, sends it over to the far side of the ground. I reckon that's Evans covered in mud. He'll bring it back on the inside. Dangerous ball. Flying was Vardaniga. Takes the mark, wheels around onto his right. Now there's plenty of Canberra players on, so they're going for the short stuff at the moment. And they continue to go short, dangerously short. Eli Smith enough to spoil there, but it might be able to get away from Canberra. Is it Baker in underneath? There's Baker. I can spot Osborne in there as well. But we wait for the whistle. The umpire blows the whistle. And it's a free kick coming Canberra's way off the Brisbane player who was in the bottom of the pack. And it may have... I was going to say Matheson, but it's not. I'm not sure who it was who's given away the free. It doesn't matter now. The ball goes down towards the forward line, off the hands and out of bounds for a throw-in at the Canberra 50-metre arc on the eastern side of the ground.
So the Demons trailing by 20 points. They're into attack again. 2 goals so far in this quarter after they were kept goalless in the first. So positive signs for the Demons after quarter time. Smith up in ruck against Maynard. It's working forward Canberra's way again here. Hand pass comes to Hardy, who runs inside 50, runs into a bit of trouble, managed to knock the ball free. The ball ends up over the boundary line, so we'll get another stoppage in attack for the Demons, just underneath that electronic scoreboard. We've gone more than 40 minutes, so plenty of time still to play in this second quarter as the Demons trail by 20 points. It'll be Archie Smith and Josh Maynard to go up in ruck again. Smith started in front. Maynard probably won his way in front in the end and knocked it down. Brisbane just running the footy out of defence. It's socket into the middle of Football Park. Cox waits for it to come out. He gets the hand pass now to Robertson. Robertson will put it over the top to run onto their Lions. Lions has a man on his own at full forward and running in to kick the open goal is Tom Fullerton. And that's all just a bit easy, isn't it?
It was. I'm sitting here trying to think that they really didn't have much of a challenge on the way through. They just had a man in space, to a man in space, to a man in space, to a man in space, all the way up the ground.
And it's those marks. They're able to just kick it to a player in space who is able to take that uncontested mark and then running in to kick the open goal. And we look at that mark statistic, 51-21. The Demons have tightened it up a little bit in this second quarter. But just the skills from the Lions are elite, and you expect that. They've got 21 AFL-listed players in their team today. The Demons obviously have none because they're not an AFL side. And we're seeing that difference in quality and that difference in skill level on show this afternoon.
Yeah, you mentioned the disposals earlier, Eddie. Brisbane now have 5 players with more than 10 disposals. Canberra yet to get 1 into that territory. So the difference in possession is going to cause trouble for them. Smout has had 1 possession since that bounce, gets another one, sends a kick up towards the half-forward line. Waiting underneath it was Bruce. I mentioned that before about players being hung out to dry, but they've been able to pick it up now. That might have been Hardy who sent it in towards the forward line. There's a Canash turns around, but again, too many Brisbane players. Hot contest for the ball. In there, it might be Hinged. They turn it around with just 1 kick. It's out towards the 50-metre line. And now the Brisbane Lions, they're away once again. Long ball up the line. Getting into the front position for the Canberra Demons was Baker. Gets the punch over the boundary line, so they're a chance to try and get it back from the ruck contest. But again, yet another play goes deep into the forward territory for the Canberra Demons and breaks down and allows another rebound. So yet another inside 50 wasted for them. Canberra have had 17 inside 50s. Brisbane have had 22. Ball back in play once again from the contest. It's grabbed and goes to ground. It'll be yet another ball up. This one will take place 20 metres in from the boundary on the far side of the ground.
Well, we're having a few stoppages, Chris. Good moment to mention those 9 Canberra Demons that have put their hands up for the AFL mid-season draft on the 27th of May. Maguire, Baker, Budd, Fall, Hardy, Highmore, Moline, Osborne and Powell. None of them have been invited to take a medical requested by any of the AFL clubs, but you've got to be in it to win it.
Absolutely.
And certainly the likes of Baker and Maguire, we know were close to being drafted last season, and so plenty of clubs will perhaps be keeping just a little bit of an eye on them as the Demons get inside 50, and they'll get a shot on goal here to Adam Canash, who's taken a nice mark on the lead.
It was a good ball from Richardson. I liked that. It was just low trajectory, hard and fast. Canash was on the lead. Had to put himself on the line there. Just waited. Got to be the man in front.
Back in the side this week,
yep.
Adam Canash. They missed him a bit last week because they lose that height in the forward line that he adds. Can he add a 3rd goal to the Canberra Demons tally this afternoon? He's taking a relatively long run up. He'll kick from just inside 50, or in fact just outside 50. The right foot drop punt looks like it's away to the right. It is. So the Demons now 2-4-16, Brisbane 6-5-41.
We spoke to one of the Canberra Demons officials earlier today, and they said, look, we're not quite at full strength yet. We're missing a couple, and a couple of guys playing not necessarily the style of game they want to play because of some personnel issues at the moment. So they're expecting to be a side that improves come June, but they're putting up a good fight here at the moment up against certainly the best side in the NEAFL as Bastanak takes it away for them, and now they go to Fullerton. Look at this, just so many players that they can get it to. They go to Eli Smith. Eli Smith turns around, goes almost a full 360 degrees. Hand passes on the inside, finds Matheson. Matheson then on to Bastanak again. His second involvement for it. And now inside the forward 50, waiting for it was Cox, but it's gone over his head. And it'll be a throw-in to take place just inside the forward 50 for the Brisbane side. They're up by 25 at the moment. It was 19 points at quarter time, so they haven't extended the lead greatly since the first break. And the 19-minute mark about to tick over. Ball comes back into play waiting for it and getting the tap was Archie Smith. He just seems to have so much more reach than Maynard, but the Canberra players have been able to run away with it. That might have been Osborne who got the bump off the ball. They're moving fairly quickly, the Demons. They come back on the inside. Now it's with Smout. Smout, who can he go to? Well, he's got a man who's able to set himself up and take some time. It's Martin. Martin smartly decides not to play on, would have run into a tackle. Instead, he can go back. He puts it in front of Owen Orban, but back again off the ground, picked up by Kitty and Coleman. He sends the ball forward now for the Brisbane Lions, and look at this. They're flooding. It's on. They wait for Coleman to come back. He juggles it. He picks it up. He turns to his left and then to his right. Going up forward, looking there for Berry. Oh, that's silky smooth skills, and then he puts the ball on the turf and then gets cleaned up. This should be some sort of a stoppage. No, the umpire says play on, play on, play on. Was that Archie Smith who's got in there? I think it is. Then an attempted air swing comes from Berry, so I've said all the good things about him, and he's fallen over, and the ball then comes back for the Canberra Demons side. Once again, Hardy, it looks like, goes for a bounce, goes for a secondary one, won't go for a third one because he's coming into the softer part of the ground. How far has he gone? Too far. Too far. Was in two minds. We went all the way over there earlier, Eddie, and he was in the firm part of the ground. He was heading into the soft part of the ground, and it must have just played with his mind as he felt the surface change under his feet.
He's been good in this quarter, Mitch Hardy, helping to break the lines and running and carrying. Unfortunately, they're running and carrying quite clearly a little bit too far. So a Brisbane Lions free kick off the half-back flank. Good setup here from the Demons. They've closed down most of the forward options for the Lions. So the Lions are going to try and switch play into the middle of the ground. Here they've got someone loose in Fullerton. Takes the mark. Gives it off quickly to Taylor. Taylor kicks towards half forward to Cox, who takes the mark on the chest in front of Richardson.
They're playing with force fields around them, Brisbane. They just seem to be able to find space. The Canberra players don't seem to be able to get near them as Cox goes further forward.
Kicks it to full forward. Pake in a good spot. Knocked it down. Umpire pays a free kick. He pays a Brisbane free, so that's another shot on goal to the Lions.
Well, McFadden was the man in front, got himself settled there. There's enough contact in there. It's a bit hard for us from this angle to see exactly what else was going on, but the umpire in good position, and well, you're right behind this one for Connor McFadden. Hasn't got a goal just yet, but that may change in a second.
I think the free was for chopping the arms. Connor McFadden, one of three Connors on the field, starts it to the left and hits the post. You almost felt he was aiming for the post there. It was just perfectly weighted, glided into the middle of the post. So a bit of a let-off for Canberra. They tried to get a quick kick in, but they won't be allowed to. I think the umpire hadn't quite finished signalling or setting the mark, or there were two balls on the field.
I think there was two balls on the field was the problem. And there's still two balls on the field, so they have to wait and have to wait. What are we at? 21:45 on the clock.
Baker now, ready to kick in. Runs out of the goal square, goes long towards the wing position. No one can take the mark. It's off hands and over the boundary line. We'll get a throw in between wing and half forward for Brisbane, who lead by 26 points. Time on in the second quarter.
I really like this players being allowed to run in from the goal square after a behind now. I think that's making a huge difference to restarts. It just gets the ball a little bit further out when teams do it, and I'm starting to see it being used more and more to affect, and in NEAFL games as well, as Canberra have it now through Maguire. But again, ineffective disposal, going further forward for them. And they've got calling for it on the inside is Bastanak. He can stand there and wait, takes a little jump, thinks about playing on for a moment, but instead he's going to line up for a set shot. He'll kick from about 52, you would imagine here. He had Evans waiting for it.
It's interesting to see players like Bastanak and Christensen out here at Phillip today. A few years ago, this is not necessarily where they thought their careers would be, and Bastanak's decided to go with the pass.
Oh, that's poor defence from Canberra. They didn't man up. You've got to actually be prepared for that. You've got to just make sure you cover your man in defence.
50 metres.
They didn't, and it was Toby Wooler who went in. And he's got the mark, and then there's I'm not sure whether it was whether it was chopped after the mark or whether it was back chat. But either way, I think it was back chat. Yeah. But now it'll be an easy set shot for Wooler, straight in front, top of the square. He'll bang it straight into the safety netting. Here it goes. In fact, he only goes a half-hearted kick. In the end, doesn't need to do much more with it. Wooler gets his first goal for this afternoon. Fourth for the quarter, seventh for the match for the Brisbane Lions, and they are starting to stretch away once again. They lead by 32 points, 7-6-48 to the Canberra Demons 2-4-16, 23 and a half minutes gone.
That sort of thing just takes a bit of a sting out of the game, and I think it deflates the Demons a little. They've been pretty disciplined today. They haven't given away any stupid free kicks. Unfortunately, then. Well, that's what I mean. And it just hurts them because they're trying hard. They are putting in a cracker effort today, the Demons. They're taking the game on. Their defence has been pretty solid. And an unfortunate there. Look, he probably would have kicked the goal anyway.
Most likely.
But just a bit of ill discipline, and I think that deflates the team a bit. So they need to try and lift here from this centre bounce. Need to try and win the clearance and take a bit of momentum into the second half. Umpire decides to throw it up. Maynard knocked it down. The Demons do get the clearance through Maynard, but he's turned it over. Christensen running off halfback. Got the hand pass out. Now they work it to Coleman, who takes the mark. He gets it off quickly. They're working the broadcast side of the ground, the Lions. It'll be marked here by Smith on the chest. Feeds the hand pass off to Taylor. Taylor goes inside 50 in the Ballenden direction. Doesn't hold the mark. No free kick. Demons will come away with it. Richardson. He's got Spina alongside him. Instead, he hand passes it straight to an opponent. Now Bastanak gives it forward to Ballenden. He turns around and gives it back to Bastanak. Swings it to a 2-on-2 contest at full forward. No mark. Comes out towards Ano there and Eli Smith and goes over the boundary line. Nick Ano, Chris, he's leading a revolution here in Canberra. He is coordinating the indoor AFL 9s competition, which began at the Indoor Hockey Centre in Lyneham last night. No one in their right mind would have wanted to be playing outdoors last night. A fantastic idea to keep people playing social footy in the ACT in our very, very cold winters.
I've got a question about that indoor AFL 9s, Eddie. I'll come back to it, though. Powell in there for the Canberra Demons off the restart. But the ball comes out off hands and winds up with Madden. Madden then finds Bastanak. So back to Bastanak, which sounds like some sort of 1970s TV show. Pops it in towards the hot spot, but it's Maguire who takes it for Canberra. He goes over to the other side of the ground now, and Martin was the target. He couldn't do much with it. I think that might be Robertson again for the Brisbane Lions. He had so many people he could have popped it onto. One of them was Fullerton. Fullerton didn't get there. And, geez, who is that, Eddie? It's the one day I've forgotten the binoculars. And he is indeed a very, very long way away. A couple of players calling for leads. Bastanak was one of them, but instead the shot comes. You watch the shot, Eddie. I'll watch the player.
It's a goal.
It's a goal, which is good news for the mystery man. We'll just keep an eye on him as he makes his way back. And while I'm doing that, Eddie, can I ask you a question?
Please.
The AFL Indoor 9s, and I believe you played in a game of it last night.
I did. A lot of fun.
Now, I know the answer to this question, so don't fudge it for me. How many players aside on the AFL 9s?
It's meant to be 6.
So it's AFL 9s, but it's 6 aside.
6 on the field or on the court. I mean, I guess in theory you'd have 3 on the bench. We ended up playing 4-on-4 last night, which was a lot of fun, actually. Everyone got a lot of ball.
Hang on. Can we just backtrack here? So you played last night an indoor 9-a-side competition that's actually 6-a-side, but you played 4-a-side.
Yeah, in the end, one extra person came and was on the bench, so there were 9 people there. Anyway, we're back in the middle, Chris.
I did say quintessentially Canberra in the little tease about that earlier in the game, and hopefully we haven't confused you too much. Ball under contest just forward of the centre circle for the Brisbane Lions. It pops out for a moment, and then another pack forms. Umpire blows a whistle. Another umpire blows a whistle. We've got a Brisbane Lions player down there. Oh, and he doesn't look to be terribly well. I think Berry in there. Did I give the goal scorer, by the way, that it was Keys?
Getting his first, and he's kicked 16 through 4 games in the season the Lions have played on, and they get inside 50, kick towards Ballenden.
Ballenden can't take the ball that goes out over the boundary line. Now still down in the middle of the ground is Berry. When I say down, he's on his hands and knees. He's not flat on his back. You call the play, Eddie. I'll keep an eye on him just to see where they're treating, if we can try and pick it up.
He's got 3 trainers there with him, Berry, so Chris will keep an eye on that. As the ball is thrown in, it's Carr and Smith. Smith took it out of the ruck, sort of knocked it down to no one. Hardy came in and got another hand pass for the Demons. Vardaniger's kick out of defence was towards Bruce. It doesn't stay in play. We'll get a boundary throw in, and looks like Tom Berry, he's up and about, but doesn't look too well.
Well, that's a loose definition of up and about. He got up, took about 3 steps, bent over again, take another 3 or 4 steps and bent over. Keeps clutching at his ribs. So I'm not sure whether it's his ribs, his stomach or an arm that he's hurt, but he's up now and moving.
As the Lions get the kick inside 50, no one could take a mark. Keys lays a good tackle. Umpire says play on. There's still a massive pack around the play. We'll get another stoppage inside 50 for the Lions. Is still Thomas Berry very slowly making his way off the ground.
Left ribs.
Yeah.
That's where he keeps grabbing it. He's grabbing it with his left arm and then his right and then his left arm. He's really struggling. Looks like he's struggling to take a deep breath. So hopefully it's not a broken rib, maybe a soft tissue or a cartilage injury. And as soon as he gets over the line, he's down on his haunches. He's in a bad way.
Madden has taken a mark for Brisbane. He sends them back inside 50. Again, no mark. It's off hands. Good defence there by the Demons, getting back in numbers and seeing the ball out over the boundary line. We'll get a throw in. We're deep in time on in the second quarter. It's the Lions leading the Demons by 38 points.
It is indeed. 29 and a half gone. And the ball comes back in as we wait, and maybe getting the best of it from underneath was Harry Carr, but plenty of Lions players in there making a contest for it. Lions may have been one of them. Now they come back around for Coleman. Looks on the outside. He had 4 or 5 players that he could have gone for. Probably went for the hardest target, but got it straight to Benjamin Keys, and Keys was the man in front, took the hard mark, and he'll have the fairly comfortable shot from about 35 out.
A little bit quiet in the first quarter, Ben Keys, but there's a reason why he's third in the NEAFL MVP at the moment. 16 goals through the first 4 games for him this season. He's already kicked 1 today, now looking to extend that season tally to 18.
The first one he had was on a fairly acute angle. The second one, he has that funny angled run-up as he puts it into the outside of the goalpost on the left side. And it's another point. I reckon he's got 1 goal 2 for today. I don't keep a track of behinds there. And that will indeed be 1 goal 2 for him as the Demons bring the ball back into play. Coming around the grandstand side, flying for it was Wooler. He couldn't control. Goes into the path of Bastanak. Bastanak, that may have gone out of the park, but the umpire says play on. On the way back in, it's taken to Moline for the Demons. Now Moline finds Powell. Powell has support up ground or in the middle. He goes towards the middle of the park where Bruce is waiting. On the outside, there are 3 unopposed Canberra players on this side of the ground, and instead he goes to the one who's on his own, which was Evans on the far side of the ground, and it all comes unstuck again. It might be Bruce able to get there. No, they still can't do anything with it. There's just too much pressure from this Brisbane side. It's been taken by Keys. Could have taken a shot himself. Instead gives it to a teammate who sends it back on the inside where it's into the path of Fullerton. Fullerton spins around, almost ballet in motion there. Turns it around, bang, through for another goal. That would be his second for this afternoon, his second for the quarter.
Again, just too easy inside 50 there for the Lions. What's that now? They're up to 9 goals, 6 goals in this quarter, and they're just starting to run away with things a bit as we get past the 31-minute mark in the second term. And I think, Chris, that it's been their sort of top 5 to 10 players, the Lions. It hasn't necessarily been an even spread today. We've seen just very dominant performances from Bastanak, Christensen, Taylor, Robertson that are leading the side. For the Demons, I think it's been a bit more even. They just don't have that class at the top.
Canberra looking at a tough run in the second half of the season here, Eddie. We'll talk more about
Eli
it
Smith
shortly.
with that last goal.
Was it Eli Smith?
Yeah. I think old mate just hand passed it off at the end.
Okay, apologies there. Fullerton with the hand pass to Smith as the ball back into the middle of the ground, and it goes via once again Smith. Just look at him go. That would be that man Robertson. They turn it around, finding Bastanak. He's all over the ground, is Bastanak. Are we sure there's only one of him out there? Now it's with Christensen. Short ball. Plenty of options, and they've got on his own in space. Inside the forward 50 is Archie Smith. Instead it goes to a contest. Tapped away by Spina for the Demons, but it's only gone as far as the Lions as the siren sounds. And it's been banged through for a goal with literally a fraction of a second before the break. So the 10th goal of the game, the 7th goal of the quarter, and the Lions find themselves in front by a considerable margin. They'll be at 10-7-67 to the Demons 2-4-16, and it's Keys getting another one. So he's got his second for the day, his third for the quarter. Oh no, his second for the day and his second for the quarter. He moves on to 2 goals, 2 for this afternoon. And this Brisbane side, well, they are doing it quite comfortably this afternoon.
That quarter, Chris, went for about 32 and a half minutes. And in the final 9 minutes, the Lions piled on 4 goals. So they just ran away with it there in time on. And the Demons looked better early in the quarter, kicked those 2 goals in a row, got a bit of momentum, coughed up that 50-metre penalty that led to a certain goal. I think that just deflated them a bit. They were keen to get into the sheds. The Lions didn't want to get into the sheds. They wanted to pile on 4 more goals, and we are seeing why they have been such a dominant side in this NEAFL competition. As I say, I reckon it's that class at the top. Bastanak, 21 disposals
Not
21
bad
disposals.
Not bad for
in
half a footy. Yep.
Christensen 17, Taylor and Robertson have 16, Hinge, Matheson have 13, Coleman and Smith have 12 each. It falls away a little from there. For the Demons, Smout with 13 disposals, Baker and Maguire with 10 each. Guy Richardson has been pretty good with 9 disposals. Someone asked me yesterday who's my favourite player to commentate. I said Tom Fall.
Yep.
He's so exciting.
Yep.
He runs and runs and runs and kicks goal of the years. He takes marks. He likes to play on. Has not had a disposal today, Tom Fall. Put his hand up for the mid-season draft. He needs to lift in the second
He
half.
does indeed. He's got a row of duck eggs there. Not a disposal, not a tackle. He's given away 1 free kick. It's his only stat for the day. He won't be a happy man in there. Now, Eddie, I mentioned before that Canberra looking at a tough run from here. I'm not talking about their fixture. I'm just talking about the numbers. They will go after this game. They'll be sitting 2 and 4. And I suspect, you know that every club does it pre-season. There'll be someone in the club who sits there and looks at it and says, well, you know, our pass mark for various stages of the season would be this. And I reckon they would have set themselves for this game as one to really say, OK, we went close to the title last year. We need to be up against this Brisbane Lions side. They're down. They're considerably down, 51 points at the long break. But not only that, they're going to be 2 and 4. And the 2 and 4 that they are down could so easily have been 4 and 2. You know, the game against Redland, which they were absolutely pumped, is one that they would have thought that they should have won. And looking at Redland's form elsewhere in the season, you know, Canberra should have done better there. The game against the Giants last week, again, probably should have been a win for the Canberra side. So there are going to be a few questions being asked in this club over the next few weeks, and will they answer them? Well, time will tell.
I had to double check there when you said 51 points, Chris, because didn't that just change in a blink of an eye?
Oh, yeah.
They were in the match midway through that quarter.
I saw you double take for a second, then I thought, hang on, have I messed up the maths?
No, you haven't. But as we say, those 4 goals in the last 9 minutes really taking the sting out of this match late in that second quarter.
That's for sure. It's the long break at Phillip Oval, and the visiting side, the top of the table Brisbane Lions, they're doing it quite nicely at the moment. They have 10-7-67. The Canberra Demons with a lot of work to do to even salvage some pride at this stage of proceedings, you would imagine, and they are sitting at 2-4-16 at half-time on NEAFL TV.
Second half about to get underway at Football Park, where the Brisbane Lions hold a 51-point lead over the Canberra Demons, 10-7-67, plays 2-4-16. Chris, in that second quarter, we saw Tom Berry for the Lions go off the field, but he's made a recovery and he's back on.
He is the Iron Man. He's lining up at half forward for the Brisbane side as he's moved quite a way up the ground, and he may well get involved in play very, very soon. He was subjected to a bit of a fitness test during the break, but we saw him out there getting a few bumps and knocks, and he does seem to be all right.
Three-quarter time in the other match at Henson Park. The Sydney Swans lead Sydney Uni 13-13, 91 to 7-6-48. And two games, Southport v NT Thunder and Aspley v the Gold Coast, just getting underway as we speak.
A reminder, of course, live streaming of all NEAFL games across season 2019 via NEAFL TV. So you can keep tabs on what's happening right around the North East Australian Football League. We've had a bit of congestion in the middle of the park. That's our third ball up for the quarter. And can we see the ball come out? We can indeed. It goes towards Bastanak, who's been very, very busy for the day. Puts the ball in towards half forward. The target was Keys. Couldn't control it. And the Canberra side get it to Baker. Baker's kick is smothered. Pack forms over the top. Hand pass comes out underneath in towards the Brisbane direction. Christensen was one of the players who was in line for it. Couldn't get there. Kick comes down towards the goal square, but the umpires picked a free out from the congestion area, and it will be for the Canberra Demons. Vardaniga has it, sends it around the outer side of the ground, but has been chopped off by the Lions once again. Well, it won't be what the Canberra side want, is to give away a goal, and a kick smothered. So after making the blue, Vardaniga, he then comes in, puts the hands up and affects the smother, and it'll be a throw-in now about 40 around from the Brisbane goal.
Interesting to see how both sides approach this match in the second half. 51-point margin, not impossible to chase down, but we would say highly, highly unlikely. Do Brisbane take the foot off the pedal? Does Canberra try something a bit different? We'll find out over the next hour or so. Chris Coleman and Eddie Williams here in Phillip. Ball inside 50 for Brisbane. Baker went the spoil. Came down to Richardson. He's been good for the Demons today. Kicks it out for Bruce, who juggles the mark on the defensive edge of the centre square. Bruce kicks to the wing, and there were two Lions players there. It came down to Eagles holding the ball. So a decent start to the quarter for Canberra. Mitch Hardy takes the free. Goes inboard to Smout, who's been in excellent form for Canberra so far this season. Goes short to Maguire. Maguire looks to come to this broadcast side of the ground. He's got Spina. Spina takes a mark. Didn't see much of him in the first half. Spina just kicks it back to Vardaniga. Has to go and fetch it under a bit of pressure. Gets the hand pass back to Paik. Paik chips it short for Smout. Gets to him on the bounce. Smout's just corralled. Has to hand it back to Paik. Paik gives it back to Smout. Smout drops the ball, picks it back up, kicks inboard to Baker, who says, let's just slow things down a little. His kick is to Richardson. Got to him on the bounce. He kicks it towards half forward. This is looking better for the Demons. They've got Bruce in the middle of Phillip Oval. He takes the mark. Where does the kick come next? This is where the Demons have been falling down. He's got Maguire calling for the ball short. He's got Martin on half forward. He goes inside 50, and they get a mark.
Is it Kanash who's got it?
I reckon it's Tom Highmore.
Tom Highmore. Kanash was in there somewhere as well in the contest, but it's Highmore who's come up with it. Wasn't quite sure if he'd taken the right option to go in that direction, but the man in front does grab the pill, and a chance for the Canberra side, to do the first thing, which is get a goal and get another one back.
Tom Highmore, very versatile player, can play at either end of the ground or in the middle. Put his hand up for the AFL mid-season draft. One of the Demons' co-vice captains. The right foot drop punt is a goal.
Not a bad kick.
So a good start to the second half by the Demons. They get their third, and they trim that margin down to 45 points.
Canberra with a lot of possession in there, a real lot of possession in there, Eddie. There was plenty of short passes.
And some marks.
which helps there. And is that going to do the damage for them? Are they going to be able to get the ball and just hang on to it until the opportunity opens up? Brisbane, obviously playing in front, they ran a lot of players down the ground here to just try and cut Canberra off at midfield. So eventually they had to make a move to try and come forward, and then that frees up a couple of players for Canberra. And again, slightly more direct up the middle of the ground as opposed to going out and getting lost on the wing or getting stuck in the pocket.
They could have lost their composure there, the Demons. Spina's kick wasn't great. Smout dropped the footy, but they just held their nerve. and they were able to get it inside 50, get some clear marks and get that goal. Can they get the centre clearance here? The ball's in dispute. It's on the ground. It's pulled out of the pack by Maguire, who feeds it off to Richardson. Richardson goes for a bit of a run, kicks it inside 50. The kick was too tall for Harry Carr, and it's marked there by Ballenden, who gives the hand pass off quickly to Christensen, kicks to Matheson. Matheson marks in the middle of the oval. His kick was for Coleman. It wasn't a good one. Richardson runs onto it, gives it to Hardy, or should we say Hardison, given all the other players. The ball's out of bounds. We'll have a boundary throw in front of the Brisbane Lions bench.
Hardy can't control the pill, and it is over the boundary line. Throw in to come in. Canberra, I'm going from memory here, I think Canberra got their 2 goals back-to-back in the second term, and then Brisbane banged on the next 6. So Canberra, they'll be looking to at least go consecutive goals for the second time this afternoon. Ball back in play, centre wing, grandstand side. Tap down, no clear advantage. Canberra first onto it, and again, quick tackle laid as Jack Powell tries to get away with it, but he can't. Umpire will come in and we'll have a secondary ball up. He doesn't waste any time either. Tap down goes towards Matheson, and Matheson loses the ball over the boundary line. A couple of Canberra players asking if it was deliberately towards the line. Umpire says no dice, and it'll be a throw-in right on the interchange gates for Brisbane. You can see the paint markings there. You can see the ground chopped up just a little bit on the high traffic area where there's been plenty of interchange action as well. Ball back into play, centre wing for the third time, and again maybe the tap bested for the Lions. McFadden comes in through the underneath, tries to get it away, can't do anything. Wooler has it, picks it up, he's tackled. Eddie, we've got more congestion here in the centre of London. You can take it over, see if you can get the ball away.
So we'll get another stoppage on the broadcast side of the ground. Smith and Maynard to go up in ruck again.
Maynard comes off.
Maynard's off, so Carr goes up again. It's socked forward there by Smith towards Smith. That's Eli Smith there. The ball ends up over the boundary line. We get another stoppage right in front of our commentary position here at Football Park.
Does it count as a hit out when you kick it off the ground after the throw-in?
We'll check which
We'll see that later, yeah, all right.
So Carr, and he has been doing the ruck as the second ruckman a fair bit today, Carr. Rather than sending Paik into the ruck, they've preferred to use Harry Carr. And he takes it out of the ruck and kicks it forward. Can't find a target. Highmore applying the pressure. Maguire comes in to help. Umpire's hovering. Umpire's going to play holding the ball here. He does.
Had to be. It was a good tackle there. Might have been a question about a push in the back from Highmore, but he just managed to get the hands around underneath. Gets well-deserved possession, centre wing position. Now Canberra, we saw them earlier in this quarter play a high possession game here, not necessarily looking for a big territorial advantage. This time they go long. Hand pass goes away from Bruce. He finds it towards Pollock, and Pollock with the roly-poly kick gets it through in Canberra. Well, they did it in the second quarter. They've done it in the third. They've gone back-to-back, and they move on to 4-4-28. The Brisbane Lions 10-7-67.
Just a little bit of momentum again for the Demons, and that ruckman Harry Carr, all 192 centimetres of him. He's not a short man, but he's a little short for a ruckman. Took it out of the ruck, kicked it forward, and a bit of a chaos ball. Things just opened up a little. And the Demons with a bit more energy after half-time. They started the second quarter well too. They just need to try and apply themselves for the whole 30 minutes of this third quarter to try and take something from the match. And there's an opportunity here for the Demons, certainly probably not to take the 4 points, but to take something away from this game.
Well, they'd like to, I think you said it to me while we were off air during the break, they'd probably like to keep Brisbane, if Brisbane do win this one, to below a 74-point margin.
Yes.
So that they can say they're doing better than the average. Yeah, exactly. Carr, by the way, is still giving away a good 10 centimetres to Archie Smith in the ruck duel. Plenty of hot contests for the ball at the moment. I think that might have been Owen Orban who had it. It was. He sends a long bomb in. Plenty of Brisbane players underneath, but Tom Fall comes in, lays a tackle. It pops clear. It goes to Osborne. Osborne on to Powell. Powell, he sends it in towards the forward line, and it's just gone into the padding at the bottom of the post for a point. Brisbane playing on very, very quickly here now, trying to catch Canberra napping. Robertson, he now finds Bastanak. He's had a really good game this afternoon, putting his hand up for senior selection, you'd think, for this Brisbane side. Now goes back to Robertson again, over on the far side of the ground. Who's he got up forward? I can see waiting for is McFadden if they come inboard a little bit. Instead, they're going to switch the play across the ground. That'll be Ballenden. He can turn. He has calling for it there. A couple of players, and one of them is Taylor. Taylor takes the mark under a little bit of pressure, decides to play on, sends it out towards the boundary line. It just bounces inside the stripe, picked up off the turf by Joyce. Joyce, short ball now on the inside, gets it around to Bastanak again. What's he doing on this side of the ground? How many Ks has he run this afternoon? He sends a kick up forward looking for Cox, and it's punched it over the boundary line. He must have done 15 Ks already out there, Bastanak, today, and he's had 23 disposals.
Having an excellent game, Ryan Bastanak, really leading this Lions side today as we get a boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Lions. The crowd's starting to get involved in this match. We thought the second half might just be a case of going through the motions, but that hasn't been the case through the first 9 minutes or so. It's inside 50 for the Lions, but the Demons have numbers. Pake, little underground hand pass, tries to run onto it himself. Skinner fed it backwards to McFadden. A high ball out of the hot spot. Demons with numbers. Alex Smout comes in and takes a nice mark. So the Demons looking better early in the second half. The kick is for Carr. He just nudged his opponent out of the way and let Hardy take the mark. Now Carr runs onto it. How does he go? He kicks it for Tom Fall to run onto. In the end, it favoured Christensen for the Lions. Christensen's kick spots up at Joyce. Joyce goes into the corridor. Ballenden fed it back to Robertson. Robertson kicks to the wing. The Lions have plenty of space here. They get it towards half forward. Matheson juggles the mark. They'll turn around and look for options inside 50. Bastanak's inside 50 now, Chris. He might drop back to full back in the next few minutes. Who knows? The short kick now comes to Joyce.
Oh, that's Joyce to Joyce.
Kicks now to Coleman on his own, attacking edge of the square. He just goes short and Keys marks. Just inside 50. Doesn't want to have a shot. Maybe he will in the end. Gets around the man on the mark. Ben Keys, decides to poke it short. Kick didn't get to the target on the full. Demons get there in numbers. Players appeal for holding the ball. Crowd appeals for holding the ball. Umpire says, I will have the ball. I will ball it up inside 50 for Brisbane, who have a 38-point lead. 11 minutes and a bit played in this third quarter. It's thrown up. Knocked down by Archie Smith. Came to Bastanak. Tried to give it to Robertson. Robertson gathers. Feeds it back. The high kick towards full forward. Archie Smith is there. Keys as well. Canberra players have the numbers at the fall of the ball. They should be able to work it out here. Smout again. Oh, under a lot of pressure, Alex Smout. That's holding the ball. And so Brisbane will get a shot on goal. Just took too long, Alex Smout. And it'll be Eli Smith to try and quick kick his second goal.
I don't know if it was a deliberate tactic there, but Canberra seemed to let Brisbane go at the ball, that high ball in numbers, and just wait for it there. I don't know whether it was a deliberate tactic or just how it played out. We'll see whether they do that again in the next time there's a ball under contest just short of the goals.
Eli Smith looking for goal number 2, looking for the Lions' 11th. He's out in the pocket, the right foot kick. That's a great kick by Eli Smith. He's got 2. The Lions now extend that lead back beyond 50 points.
Canberra stay on 4-5-29. Brisbane go to 11-7-73. 12 minutes played, and it's been a very fast 12 minutes here.
Got my maths wrong there, Chris. I'd added a couple of goals. It's not beyond 50.
Not quite. What is it? 44. Yeah, I don't have enough fingers and toes to do it in a hurry, but we'll just roll along. What have we got? 12 and a half minutes gone. It's been a very, very quick 12 minutes as well. Plenty of fast-flowing footy.
It's been entertaining. The crowd's certainly getting their money's worth.
Ball is back in the middle, but there's a few changes going on as we get set for the restart. Maynard back out there for the Canberra Demons. And there's been a change in the ruck. We'll just wait and see who goes up for it. And in there it's Sam Skinner who's gone into the ruck this afternoon. But the Canberra side get away with the best of it. Robertson, he manages to apply enough pressure so that the Brisbane side can get best use of the ball, but it comes back in towards the middle where Highmore has it, loses it, and then I think that might be Evans who's in there over the top of it now. He's tapped it away to another teammate on the far side of the ground, and again they're working their way around at this Canberra side. Maguire puts them into attack there, waiting underneath. It may have been Kanash. Ball goes over the boundary line. Throw in will be 55 around from the Canberra goal. Well, in the second quarter, Canberra put on 2 in a row, then Brisbane fired off the next 5 or 6. So Canberra put on 2 in a row here. They'll be desperate to make sure that Brisbane don't get the next one and undo all the good work in the first 10 minutes. Good bump in the ruck contest there. Finds Maynard actually gets the better of it. Now plenty of players chasing after the ball. Robertson has the ball, sends a little hand pass away, goes into the path of, it might be Matheson over there on the far side of the ground. Evans comes in, lays the tackle as the ball spills over the boundary line in the arms of Berry, and it'll be another throw in, this one about 30 metres further around from the previous, but we're still on the Canberra side of halfway. 14 gone, third quarter.
Last time these two sides played was in round 10 last year at Manuka Oval, and the Demons had the better of the Lions that day, winning by 22 points. A much stronger Brisbane outfit that has come to Canberra this year as they get the ball into the middle of the ground. Baker is first there. His hand pass turned over, though, to Joyce, and the Lions get things working forward. It comes to Wooler. He kicks inside 50. Not a great kick, but it'll end up okay. It'll be dribbled through. It'll be dribbled through for a goal, and Keys has another.
That's his third for the afternoon, and that one, well, you saw it coming from a long way out, Eddie. You called it, they were in space there, and Canberra had plenty of men up the field. They were playing, as we've said a couple of times, they've been playing a fairly high possession game here. The problem with that is if the other side gets it and gets a clearing kick in, you've suddenly got to make up an awful lot of ground, and the ball travelling through the air will always be faster than the ball travelling in the arms of a player. And, well, we're pretty well back where we started from. At half-time now with Brisbane, 12-7-79. They are now 50 points clear of Canberra, 4-5-29. The half-time margin was 51. So Canberra, well, they've wound up doing it incrementally. They've shut the margin down by a point since the long break.
They have largely matched them, though, around the contest. Just a couple of times they're getting opened up, but they're applying themselves pretty well in this third quarter, the Canberra Demons. They certainly haven't given up, and that has been, well, not giving up has been a problem for the Demons, but occasionally when they've fallen behind, we've seen big blowouts against the Demons over the past year. Let's hope they can stay in touch and keep this contest going. Aino kicks it to the wing, bounces over Hardy's head. It'll sit up nicely there for Payne. He gets the hand pass off to Coleman, who gives it back to Payne. Payne kicks it towards half forward. Cox is there. Baker is in front. Couldn't bring down the mark. Again, it'll open up for the Lions. The high hand pass inside 50 is for Cox to try and run onto. Palmed it off to a teammate. The left foot snap is a goal.
Well, that was just all too easy, and I reckon it's Connor McFadden who's got his first for the afternoon.
So Connor McFadden gets on the scoreboard 3 in a row for the Lions, and when it opens up like that, it's just too easy for them inside 50.
Well, said this I promise I won't keep referring to it, but, well, Canberra got a couple and then gave up a string. They've got a couple now. They've given up a short string. They do need the next one just to keep themselves on the respectable side of things in this contest up against the top side in the NEAFL this afternoon. Harry Carr returning to the field for the Demons, as is Alex Smout, and I can see coming back out for the Brisbane Lions, Corey Lyon makes his way down towards the forward end of the ground, and Robertson, who's been very, very busy for them, he's been taken off the park for a couple of minutes. He's had a short breather, and he's getting ready to come back on as well. Back in the middle of the park with now a 56-point margin, and where are we at? 17 minutes gone, so... Well, three-quarter time, still a few minutes away. Canberra will want to see if they can at least have a better quarter this quarter than the last. Well, if the ball stays in that part of the turf, it won't do much. And we'll get a secondary ball up just next to the off-centre circle. If you're wondering how far off-centre it is, if you drew a line from the behind post to the behind post on the far side of the ground, the centre of that centre circle is about another 5 metres to the outside of that due to the glue pot area from the cricket pitch. Now, Canberra have the ball here, and it's with Powell. He turns around. Who's he looking for? In front of him is... Owen Orban, who tried to take the mark, but he couldn't get it. It was just too high for him, and now the rebound kick comes from Payne. That may have actually gone out on the full. It has. So Canberra are going to get a free here. Probably a bit too hard to score from. Powell was calling for it. Don't know if he's the right option, because it would have only improved the angle by 5 degrees, if that. So it'll be a kick from just outside 50. Plenty of players in at the goal square. Pack forms, flies. That's a grab.
Harry Carr
has just come running in. He's jumped up, and the pack has parted beneath him for him to take the good grab. And I reckon he's got it still inside the goal square. So he's going. Oh no, the umpire's marked it just outside the goal square. So he'll be on a bit of an angle, but he won't be too far out.
That was excellent from Harry Carr. He read that perfectly. You could see as soon as it was in the air, he was the player with the intent, and he's kicked the goal.
He has indeed, Harry Carr. He's having an interesting afternoon. He's got 2 goals and a couple of hit-outs this afternoon for his Canberra Demons side, and he brings the margin back again to that 50 points. Canberra 5-5-35, Brisbane 13-7-85, 18 and a half gone. Well, will Canberra do it for a third time? Will they go back-to-back with goals for the third time this afternoon, Ed?
Well, important there that they didn't let the Lions string together consecutive goals. And we saw in time on in the second quarter, those final 9 minutes, the Lions slammed on 4 goals. So the Demons need to stay concentrating over the next 10 minutes or so. They don't want to see this margin blow out to something like 75 points at three-quarter time. They'd rather it was down to something like 30 points if they can string together a few goals.
Well, they've still got plenty of time to do it. I've just seen 19 minutes tick on the scoreboard. Ball goes up in the middle of the park, and it's Archie Smith who gets the best of it, but it's only as far as Smout for the Demons. He's tackled as soon as he grabs hold of the ball, and the umpire will send it up again. Almost the same spot as the secondary ball up was after the last restart.
So it's thrown up, Smith and Maynard in ruck. It came down to Hardy, who got the hand pass out. They've coughed up the ball here, the Demons, but good pressure from the two Mitches, Hardy and Maguire, who share a house, by the way, and they win a stoppage in the middle of Phillip Oval. We'll get the ball thrown up. The Demons trying to take a bit of momentum. They've kicked, 3 goals in this third quarter, which is their best result so far in the match. The umpire will throw it up again. No goals for the Demons in that first quarter, while the Lions kicked 3. The Lions then kicked 7-2 in the second term. This quarter, it's 3 apiece, so things have tightened up a little. We get another stoppage near that off-centre circle. So neither side able to break free at the moment. And the Demons have done a pretty good job of just locking things up in this third quarter. Maynard knocks it forward. Running onto it, though, was Coleman. He kicks towards half forward for Brisbane. Spina is tracking it back. Knocked it to the defensive side. Keys is trying to run onto it.
Oh.
Keys gets out of traffic. He gives the hand pass off. Oh, Spina with a good tackle. No, it was too high.
And it's on now. There was really nothing in that. Spina's tackle was high, but he tried to duck underneath it over there. Did the Brisbane player, I think it's Wooler who's got it.
Yeah.
He did try. He was trying to duck underneath the tackle there, and I suspect lost his footing. He's in the slippery part of the ground there. It's a bit greasy, and a couple of players coming in remonstrating with each other, but no harm, no foul, other than the high tackle.
Probably just a bit clumsy there from Spina, and you've got to aim for the hips, don't you, with a good tackle. So Wooler looking to kick the Lions 14th, and I think he's getting a 50-metre penalty here. He is. So it might have been back chat again.
Well, it's interesting because he was lining up to take the shot for outside the 50, and then the other umpire, Chris Brackenrig, was the umpire there in the number 3, just to the right of Wooler.
So this will be 2 goals that the Demons have coughed up from 50-metre penalties. The Lions now have 14, and they're back out to that equal game-high margin of 56 points.
And Wooler has his second for the afternoon. And so there's been 2 goals that have been made considerably easier courtesy of 50-metre penalties, plus one that's come for the Brisbane side after a complete mess-up of a restart after a behind. So it's not the difference between the sides, but it certainly has made it a lot more comfortable for Brisbane. Take off 2 of those. Give them 1 of the 3. Take off 2. They're 12 points back, so that's 79. It's still a 6-goal game, but 6 goals is certainly a lot better than the 9-goal cushion the Lions have at the moment. They're 14-7-91, Brisbane, Canberra 5-5-35, and the Canberra side being tested in the middle of the ground as Harry Carr. He's had a pretty good day today. He charges through the middle of the pack and eventually gets it onto a couple of teammates. Pack forms here. We've got 5 players over the top. The ball comes out through the players' legs. We'll see if anyone can get away with it, and they can indeed. That would be Aino who's got it. Hasn't had a bad debut for the Canberra side. His kick out towards the boundary line. Well, it's still bouncing around. Hardy gets it, picks it up, hand passes, was looking for Maguire, but the line gets to the ball first, and it's out for another throw-in. Yeah, Aino, not a bad afternoon for him on his Canberra debut here. Only had half a dozen disposals or so. 1 kick, 4 and 4 hand passes, a total of 5 disposals plus 1 mark, and more to come for him in the blue and yellow.
Archie Smith won the hit out decisively. The Lions will get it forward again. It comes inside 50 to a one-on-one contest. Good spoil by Paik away from Skinner. Skinner chases after the ball. It stays inside the field of play. It ends up Brisbane's way. Good pressure by the Demons. Robertson can't quite take the mark. He's brought to ground. Osborne was there laying a tackle. He's waiting for the ball to come out. It won't. We'll have a ball up right in the hot spot, and it's pretty damp, that hot spot, around that 30-metre out from the goal in both the 50-metre arcs. Pretty damp. 17 mil of rain falling in Canberra yesterday and overnight. Another stoppage inside 50 for the Lions. Carr and Skinner went up in ruck. Maguire tried to bring it out from the contest. Still just on ground level. Massive pack around this contest. I think the umpire will pay a free. It's a holding free. Which way will it go? Looks like it's going to go Brisbane's way, and the crowd's not too happy.
Yeah, the crowd certainly didn't sound happy with it. And
Lewis Taylor, I think.
Do we call it the hot water spot where they are? Where this one is being taken from? I'm not sure how well it's showing up on the screen at home, but certainly there's a lot of discoloration appearing on that turf now in this area.
In fact, it wasn't Lewis Taylor. He gave it off to one of his teammates here. Shot on goal should be relatively straightforward. 45 out, directly in front. Right foot, drop punt. It's a goal.
Oh, it's getting a bit too easy again for this Brisbane side. This is the other pattern we have seen here from the Canberra side this afternoon, where they're competitive through the first 20-25 minutes of the quarter, but then the Brisbane side, they just have that little bit of extra fitness and they're able to run away with it just a little bit more. They did it late in the second quarter, as you mentioned, leading into half-time. They kicked 6 goals in 9 minutes.
Reece Matheson with that goal.
And with that one for Reece Matheson, that would be the third in a row, or the second in a row, and the fourth of the last 5, in fact 5th of the last 6 to the Brisbane Lions. So again, they're starting to assert their authority as this game extends, and now the margin is out to 62 points, and Canberra, they've got a bit of work to do here just to keep it below that Brisbane's average margin for the season of 74, but it's the Lions who have it now, courtesy of Taylor. Taylor, he had the chance to have the goal last time before giving it off to a teammate, gives it away to Eli Smith, comes back to Taylor, now a little bit of a hand pass, a teammate kicks the ball forward, bounces once, bounces twice, chasing in there, it may have been Fullerton, but the ball goes over the boundary line, another throw in to take place again deep in attacking territory for the Brisbane Lions.
The inside 50 count, Chris, is Brisbane leading 40-25. So earlier on it was a bit tighter, but Brisbane have just started to open things up. The clearances have been pretty even. In fact, Canberra leads the clearances 30-28.
And I know the marks early in the game was 44-11 and then 51-21. I'll get you to give us an update on that.
80-38. So more than double.
Jeez, when you've only taken 38 marks in almost 3/4 of football,
difficult.
that really does make it difficult today. I appreciate the ground's wet, the ball's a bit slippery, but Brisbane haven't had too much trouble there. They've taken 80 across the course of the day. Canberra have it now. Evans, whistle blows to say he's got the mark. He plays on to Owen Auburn. He sends the ball inside the forward 50. Able to run onto it in Pollock's paddock is Pollock. He picks it up. He's driven to the ground, taps it forward, trying to keep it away from the danger man, Nick Robertson. Robertson gets it onto a supporting act there. He's got a couple of players there before it comes back to him. Goes across the face of goal into the path of Fullerton. Fullerton, he's given it away to Bastanak. No panic from this Brisbane side, and they're 62 points up, and they're treating it as though every point counts. Now they come through the hands, and it comes up with Smith, Archie Smith. He's got Cox on the outside, and Cedric Cox waits now, gets the mark. He can go short, goes a little bit too far in front of Fullerton, but Fullerton versus Maynard. Fullerton pushes Maynard out of the way. Ball then sent forward for the Demons by about 2 metres by Aino. Aino into the path of Baker. Baker, he's then given it to, I think it might have been Maynard, who's actually kicked it through clear, but it comes back to Cox. So we're back where we started from a moment ago. Subterranean handball goes to Fullerton, picks it up, gets a bullet ball into Archie Smith, and Archie Smith said, let's get inside the forward 50. He sends it up there. Mark is taken for the Canberra Demons by Highmore, and Highmore is then squished, and a 50-metre penalty is awarded. And that means he'll be up in the centre square by the time he gets to take his kick. And he runs up, doesn't stop because he's got charging up on the outside a couple of players. Smout was one. The other one was Kanash. Kanash gave it on to Baker. Baker to Smout. Oh, that's magic footy. That's just a beautiful little kick off one step, and he puts it through for a goal. Nice play. Alex Smout, he gets his first major for the afternoon.
Well, he's had another excellent afternoon, Alex Smout. His 22nd disposal there. He's had 3 rebound 50s. 4 clearances, 4 tackles. Now he adds a goal, averaging well over 31 disposals per game this season. All 10 MVP votes last week. An excellent
in a losing
season
side
from him.
too.
In a losing side last week when he had 40 disposals and was certainly the dominant player on the field. He's definitely been Canberra's best again today. Not one of the 9 Demons to nominate for the AFL mid-season draft. Obviously happy with where his life and his career is at here in Canberra.
I reckon he'd appreciate a phone call if there's any scouts who've been impressed watching him on NEAFL TV just quietly.
Well, he's been look, you couldn't do anything more than what he's done so far this season, Alex Smout. Did play in the VFL, I believe, with Frankston. So he's played at a high level, and he's continuing to perform at a high level here in the NEAFL. We're back in the middle. It's thrown up. Archie Smith wins it down. I reckon every time the Demons kick a goal, it just spurs the Lions into action. They get it inside 50, knocked away from Skinner. Still the Lions have the footy. Too far out to score. It just is kicked to the hot spot. Sitting in a good position is Matheson. It just went through his fingers. Robertson tries to run onto it. Paddles it forward. Can he get boot to ball? It stays inside the field of play. It's kicked back to Fullerton. It wasn't 15. Fullerton called to play on. Gets around one. Gives it back there to Eli Smith. And Eli Smith kicks his third. And as we say, the Demons get one. The Lions are spurred into action and they get a very quick reply.
They do indeed. But that was just... That's just physical footy. That's just, no, we are bigger and stronger. And when we need to, we can just lift a little bit. And yeah, the Brisbane Lions, they cracked the century, 16-7, 103, Canberra 6-5, 41. So Canberra have had their best quarter of the afternoon. They've added 4 goals here. But the Brisbane side, they've added 6, and they seem to do it with a lot of fast, fluid movement right up the park.
And 3 of those have been in time on, Chris. So the Lions are just staying switched on for the whole quarter. And the Demons perhaps starting to tire towards the end of each term.
Can't be too much time left in this one, though. 5 seconds before 30 minutes. And we've got a whistle in the middle of the ground.
I wonder if it was a warning on starting position perhaps there, Chris.
May have been. The 6-6-6 setup may have been contravened there, but just a warning for it. And Maguire tries to take the ball out of the middle of the park, and then someone tries to push him underneath the middle of the park. It'll be a ball up. It's very soft there, and I'm not sure where the soil's been brought in for the cricket pitch. It looks like the bulleye soil that they use at the SCG. It's very, very dark and very, very muddy. And in the end, charging through, well, plenty of players. See if anyone can get away with it. Trying to swing a leg is Evans. Sends the ball not too far. Maguire gets in. Someone else takes it away from him. It may have been Powell sending the ball forward. Waiting now inside forward 50. Flying for it was Ballenden. Couldn't do anything. Still being contested in there. Tom Falls had a quiet day. Chases his own tap forward. Ball goes out over the boundary line. Has he registered a possession yet, Eddie?
No.
Still on 0. So his only stat for the day would be his
one tackle.
Oh, one tackle now.
One free kick against. Look, to be fair to him, he's laid a couple of good shepherds and has applied some forward pressure, but gee, no disposals, and it's nearly 3/4.
Hasn't come near him a lot today too.
No, it hasn't. That's true.
And sometimes you can chase the ball all day and wind up with nothing. And the Brisbane Lions, well, they clear it off the ruck contest. Pake comes through, can't hang on to the ball, taps it to his own advantage, gets it up again, tries to hand pass it. It goes about 3 metres. It's picked up by Aino. Aino with the smothered kick into the path of Robertson. Robertson has got it to a teammate. Thought the ball may have gone out over the boundary line. Umpire says play on. House taps it away for Canberra. Off for several sets of hands. It winds up with Conor McFadgen. Canberra had it for a second. They've still got it here as Kel Evans. He goes backwards to try and go forward. He gives it now to Bruce. Bruce, he's got someone upfield. It was Moline who called for it. Couldn't hang on to it. Ball on the ground. Picked up now by Wooler for the Brisbane Lions. Doesn't get an effective possession. Oh, this is hot potato stuff at the moment. Plenty of people contending for the ball. It spurts free into the path of Jared Osborne. Osborne tries to control the ball and keep it in play, but it rolls out over the boundary line. That was some really tough physical footy for the late stages of the third quarter, Ed.
Absolutely, and neither side giving an inch. I don't think the effort at all has gone down in this second half. So good to see both sides staying switched on, even with the margin blowing out beyond 10 goals. Maynard knocked that one down, but again, the Lions getting the clearance. Archie Smith had a bit of a fumble. In comes Aino. Hand passes forward towards Maguire. Good pick up by Maguire. Gives it to Hardy. Hardy gets around Coleman. Kicks inside 50 towards Fall, and Fall takes the mark.
He gets another stat.
It wasn't the best looking kick in the world. It floated and floated. Tom Fall got in the right spot, and he will get a disposal here, and he'll have a shot on goal.
I was going to say, I've got a 20 in my wallet that says the only thing that's about to happen here is Tom Fall take a shot. He won't give this off.
He definitely won't give it off. So Tom Fall, probably beyond a 45-degree angle. He'll kick from about 45 metres out. I won't say whether he's a good finisher or not. He'll trot in. Left foot drop punt from Tom Fall. Puts it through. Perfect kick there from Fall. He gets on the scoreboard. His teammates come to him. It's been a tough day for him, but he's on the board, and the Demons have their 7th, and they have 5 for the quarter. So some promising signs for Canberra.
Indeed. Tom Fall gets his first kick for the afternoon, so he now has 1 kick, which is a total of 1 disposal, 1 mark, 1 tackle.
Well, he doesn't need
1
much
free
of the ball,
against him.
Tom Fall,
No,
does he?
Just get it to him. Look out for him. When he's calling for him, give it a crack. He had that magnificent goal back in round 1 against the Gold Coast. How far did he take that? Was from half back all the way around. Yeah. He's an excitement machine. He needs more of the ball.
Look, there are a lot of players that don't need a lot of the ball to have an impact, and we've seen Gary Rowan with Geelong this year hasn't been racking up 20 disposals or anything, only needs to have 4 kicks, and he'll probably kick 4 goals. Tom Fall is a little bit in that mould. We're back in the middle, Maynard and Skinner. Maynard got a hand to it. It's socked forward by Powell, but he's turned it over, so the Lions charging off half-back. Kick to a pretty open forward line. No mark. Baker did well going back with the flight, but it comes there to McFadgen. His centering ball was knocked away by Powell. It spilt back there to Wooler. Hand pass comes forward. Good pressure from Martin. Aino waits outside the pack. In the end, he jumps on the pack. And
why not?
Get a ball up inside 50 for Brisbane.
Get on board. 34 and a half gone. Can't be long till the siren now. Brisbane, well, they're in the hot water spot, or whatever we were going to call it. Ball up. Comes down. First man onto it was probably Smout. Ball goes high up in the air. Swinging an arm at it was Wooler. Comes away into the path of Connor Owen Orban for the Canberra side, and they decide to just try and keep it going. Now it's with Hardy. Hardy turns around, pops it back in towards Moline. Moline looking for a teammate on the wing. Instead, there's too many yellow jerseys there. It has been picked up there. I reckon that'll be Taylor who turns it around, sends it inside 50. Flirting with the boundary line comes, in fact, goes out of play on the full there. I was fooled for a moment by 2 players competing for the mark. And the Demons will get it back via Pake. Now, Pake, if he looks up over this way, you'll see he's got Richardson free and clear. But he hasn't looked over to his right. Instead, he had Osborne in short. Instead, bombs it long. Gets it well outside the 50 as the siren sounds. And at the final break, it is a 56-point game, with the Brisbane Lions leading 16-7-103 over the Canberra Demons 7-5-47.
A long quarter, but an entertaining quarter. We went nearly 35 and a half minutes, and that was because the Lions kicked 6 goals to 5. So some free-flowing footy, but also some tight stuff in the contests. Neither side taking the foot off the pedal, and let's hope we see an entertaining final quarter here at Football Park. It's the Lions leading the Canberra Demons by 56 points here on NEAFL TV.
Well, it's the old story. You never quite know what you're going to see when you come to the footy, Eddie. And our camera operator, Dan, just doing us a little favour here. And I think this family deserve credit here. They are Brisbane Lions fans. They are obviously long-term Brisbane Lions fans. They've come down to cheer on the reserves this afternoon. But of special note, the man in the white hat, you can't really see it from here, but you may have to take our word for us. As he pops around there, you may have just noticed the badge on there. That's an old AFL logo, the old shield type logo, and that is actually a Brisbane Bears jacket. That is vintage, my friend. That is more than 23 years old. 1996 was when the Bears and Fitzroy merged.
Chris, it's older than most of the players.
Valid. Valid. So kudos to that man for persisting with the Brisbane Bears jacket. Love seeing that here, and great to see the Brisbane Lions fans decked out in the hats, the beanies, the supporter gear. And there's been plenty of other people making plenty of noise here. We've got a Swans fan not too far away as well with his scarf on.
We see in the VFL that the Western Bulldogs side is called Footscray. Perhaps in the NEAFL we should bring back the Brisbane Bears.
I don't know if we want to go quite that far.
We're back underway in the final quarter. Archie Smith went up in ruck against Josh Maynard. Maynard won it down, but it's worked forward for the Lions. Aino with some good pressure, runs onto the footy. Good pick up there by Aino. Left foot kick is over the head of Bruce. Lions with numbers, but Owen Orban gets there. Might have held his opponent without the ball. He did. Owen Orban gives away a free, and the Lions, through Christensen, will be able to rebound off half-back. He kicks to Matheson. Marks on the defensive edge of the centre square. He kicks to the broadcast side of the ground to Taylor. Takes the mark, then gets the hand pass moving on quickly. Now the kick comes there for Fullerton. Fullerton kicks inside 50. Well done by Baker. Knocked it down, got his own ball, fed it to Maguire. High hand pass towards Paik. Fullerton got in the way, gives it to Archie Smith. His kick into the pocket ends up in the lap of Jonathan Spina. And he marks for Canberra, kicks up the corridor, dangerous. Baker does okay, gives it back to Powell under a lot of pressure. Umpire is circling. Baker has to lay a tackle. We'll get a ball up inside 50 for the Lions, who carry a 56-point lead into the final quarter.
Good umpiring there to just let that go for a minute. The ball was on the outside, on the opposite side from where the umpire was looking. As we see the snapshot off the pack from Eli Smith. That might be out on the full. It is out on the full, so I'll finish my thoughts on the umpiring there. Umpires working well as a unit. The umpire in control down there, I think it was Chris Brackenrig. Must have been getting a word from one of his other colleagues that the ball was out of the pack but on the ground out of his view, and allowed play to go on. So good work by the NEAFL umpiring crew this afternoon. Owen Orban is called for the ball here, and now we've got a whistle for an infringement, and it's going the Brisbane Lions' way. There may have been a bit of checking going on. I had a post to contend with there, Eddie. Not sure if you had any better view of it.
I think it was paid for a block there against Archie Smith.
Archie Smith winds up sending the ball deep into attack again for the Brisbane Lions. Every player is inside this half of the field at the moment, and there's only 2, 4, 6, 8 of them outside the forward 50, outside that 50-metre arc. So very congested footy at the Woden Shopping Centre end of the football park in Phillip. Fullerton into the ruck for the Lions. He gives it over to a cheeky little hand pass from Joyce, and Joyce has then given it to, is it Matheson in there, who's taken the shot in the very crowded goal square? I think it may have been. Didn't look like Bellenden in there. While you keep an eye on that, Eddie, I'll give I was going to give the some of the details from the local footy last night. It's actually Lyons who's wound up with it in there. So there we go. So Corey Lyons gets his first goal for the Lions for the afternoon. It's the first goal of the final term, and they move on to 109. That's 17-7-109. The Canberra Demons 7-5-47.
It will be interesting to see how the Demons run out this match. How much will they start to tire? They've had a slightly longer break than usual, having played last Friday night and now playing today on Saturday. So will that enable them to run out the match, or will we see the Lions really start to open things up? They get it inside 50 again, the Lions. Berry was there. It's on the ground. He gets the hand pass back. Good pressure here by the Demons. It's on 50. Baker tries to pick it up. He's tackled. He gets the kick forward towards the wing. The ball comes to the ground. Hardy trying to get onto it. He was up against Coleman. Hardy goes in really hard at this contest. Will get a ball up just forward of the wing for Brisbane, who now lead by 62 points. Early in the final quarter. Their average winning margin this season is 74 points, and we could see something similar if they get a little bit of a move on. It's hacked forward the Demons' way. Ballenden was in best position, didn't take the mark, but he had a teammate there at the back. It comes now to Taylor. Taylor kicks it towards half forward. He's got a couple of options. Cox marks, gives it to Fullerton. Fullerton low kick inside 50. Didn't get to his target on the full. It comes back to Matheson. Rolls onto the right foot. Sends it out in the pocket towards Eli Smith. And he takes the mark and he'll look for his fourth.
He's been unassuming, Eli Smith, but he's just been putting together some possessions through the course of the afternoon. He's got 3 goals now. This one will be the hardest one for him for the afternoon.
It'll be disposal number 12, and it goes to show what we were saying before three-quarter time, that some forwards don't need a lot of the ball to have an impact. Eli Smith coming in for his 12th disposal, looking for his 4th goal. Just leaves it out to the right. So it's a behind for the Lions. They tick up to 17-8, 110. The Demons are 7-5, 47.
Yeah, when a guy's had 12 disposals and you say he's had a quiet day, people might go, what's going on? But you run down the number of disposals recorded by Brisbane. I won't put names against them, but it reads 32, 26, 26, 23, 22, 20, 18, 18, 17 by 3. There's a lot of players who will wind up with more than 20 disposals for this Brisbane side through the afternoon. And that is also contributing to their very big lead on the scoreboard, which is currently standing at 63 points.
And one of those players is Nick Robertson, and he's lining up now to try and kick another goal. He already has 2 this afternoon. He's on a tight angle. He'll kick from just inside the paint of 50. Nick Robertson, it's a pretty good-looking kick. And it's a goal. Nick Robertson, he's on fire today. He's kicked 3. And the Lions starting to run away a bit. They've kicked the first couple of goals in this final quarter.
Take a bow, Nick Robinson. You're up to 2 dozen disposals for the afternoon and 3 goals. He's been, for mine, one of the best couple for this Brisbane side this afternoon. Bastanak head and shoulders above everyone out there this afternoon. He has been a true cut above everyone else. Christensen has impressed me. Christensen and Robertson pretty close, I think, in terms of impact on the game in the end.
I think that's right. And they have had a lot of players at the top end there that have really dominated the match. The Demons, other than Smout, haven't had a standout. It's been a relatively even performance from Canberra. But just these class players that are AFL listed, players with a fair chunk of AFL experience that have just been too good today.
Well, the Brisbane side, they've tacked on 2 goals here. Canberra yet to actually trouble the scorers in this final term. Plenty of competition for the ball on the corner of the centre square, waiting to see if anyone can get a clean possession with it. And it comes out to Canberra's way in the form of Smout. Smout then over to the path of Baker. Baker then gets it back to Smout. He turns around, looks inside and finds Carr just inside the centre square. Carr goes for the hand pass to Fall. Fall is tackled. It gets the hand pass away very quickly there. Maybe House who had it. Now another kick from Hardy into the forward line, but it clears Aaron Bruce and out over the boundary line for a free kick to the Brisbane Lions. They can switch play and do so. Comes across to Ballenden. Ballenden, he's got Coleman on short, but he goes for the longer option, and that'd be Taylor. Taylor can take his time, does so, gets set, looks for Keys. Keys, who's a long way from home at the moment. He's been doing most of his work as a forward, but he keeps playing on. Gives it back eventually after a bit of pressure there to Taylor. Taylor, he's coughed it up. He's coughed it up. The ball comes to Powell. Powell, he sends it into the forward line for Canberra to Bruce, and Bruce bangs it through for a goal. Well, we've seen a couple of really easy ones off turnovers from the Canberra side today. They pull one back.
We'll talk about being in the right place at the right time. The ball landed on Tom Fall's boot, rebounded inside 50. Canberra took what has been a rare mark inside 50, and it all opened up for Aaron Bruce, the captain, to run in and kick goal number 2.
Sometimes the luck needs to go your way.
Unfortunately, I don't think he'll get a stat for that, Tom Fall.
Let's see.
No, I don't think he will.
No, they've given it. He's got 2 kicks now.
2 kicks. They didn't give him that hand pass before.
They didn't give him the hand pass
no,
before.
I don't think he got a fist to it.
There we go. So it's well, not necessarily his afternoon, not his club's afternoon either.
You get in the right position at the right time, and you have that nous, and you have the ability to not just do the normal thing, but to know when to do the toe poke and to get it inside 50 to a teammate. It's set up a goal. Now Cal Evans has the ball. He gets the clearance, kicks it to Hardy. I've been impressed by Mitch Hardy today in a losing side. He's got it on the wing, goes inboard to Highmore, takes the mark. Gets the hand pass inboard. Now the kick inside 50. Who's there? It's kicked in the Tom Fall direction. He had a couple of lines to beat. Ball comes to ground. Powell's waiting on the outside. Good tackle by Pollock. the Lions should be able to run it out. There goes the kick now coming to our broadcast wing position. It's marked by Skinner. Rolls onto the right foot. Kicks forward of the wing. Ball bounces towards Eli Smith. Comes away from him now. Baker with another possession. Lost the ball. Had to lay a tackle on Keys. Keys looks at the umpire. The umpire says, "I'll ball it up."
Tough day at the office for a number of the Canberra players, but you mentioned Hardy in there. Baker's had a fairly decent day. Smout has been the best. Maguire has been there in patches, but not the dominant player that we saw from last year's form. The Lions have it. Little kick comes from Bastanak. He gives it across then to Archie Smith. Smith finds Lyons, and Lyons with the end. Oh, they've got men on all over the place here as it goes across to Fullerton now. Courtesy, I reckon that was Wooler who sent that across, and Fullerton, he'll have a fairly easy shot. It's not, he'll be just short of the softer area there. There's another game coming up here, a local reserve grade game coming up here after this one, Eddie. It's going to be pretty heavy conditions for those players, but Brisbane Lions, not quite walking on water, but pretty close to it as Fullerton comes in, sends the ball, sneaks it just inside the left upright, and he gets his second goal for this afternoon. And the Brisbane Lions, well, they're edging ever closer to that 74-point margin that they've been averaging across the course of the NEAFL season so far. Canberra have 53, Brisbane have 122, and if you're any good at maths, you'll know that that's 69 points the difference.
They've got a lot of height, this Brisbane side.
They do.
We've been impressed by a lot of their taller players. We've seen Archie Smith in the ruck. We've seen Connor Ballenden. And we've seen there Tom Fullerton as well kicking a couple of goals. So promising signs for Lions fans that a few of these players could become important key position players for the Lions in the AFL in years to come. And it was good to see last night in the AFL some Sydney Swans players that we've watched a lot in the NEAFL over the past few years. Robbie Fox, Jordan Dawson, Colin O'Riordan, all playing nicely in the Swans' win over Essendon. The Demons are getting the ball away from this contest. They've worked it out to the wing. They should be able to get it towards half forward with a kick for Evans. Good mark. Plays on quickly. Unusual hand pass towards Owen Orban. He's under the pump. Manages to knock it out towards Bruce. Bruce can't keep it in play. We'll have a boundary throw in inside 50 for Canberra.
It was a tough ball put to Owen Orban under all sorts of pressure in there. And again, that's just where we saw it a couple of times in the third quarter. Canberra got a possession like that. They were able to slow down and make sure they had a target for it. But being 69 points down, they're looking to at least restore some dignity to the scoreboard. And now they've coughed it up as the Brisbane side rebound through Fullerton, sends the ball high, punched away by House. And now Smout has it for Canberra. So they've got plenty of players on. Calling for it in the middle of the ground on his own was Baker. Probably could have gone to him. Instead, they've gone forward with Bruce. Bruce has given it to Hardy, I reckon. And the shot, is it a shot or is it going to hang into the goal square? It's going to hang into the goal square. And it's a good mark in there by Harry Carr. He has had a pretty decent day after a relatively quiet start where he saw a bit more time in the ruck. He's got himself 2 goals, a couple of hit-outs in the ruck, and he will have a chance at his third here from right at the top of the square. Goes with almost a crooked leg kicking style, but he gets it through, swinging it largely from below the knees. He's got 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and now 1 in the fourth quarter. And for the Canberra Demons, well, it keeps them within the hunt of doing better than average so far for this season.
He just parked himself in the goal square there, Harry Carr, and he's taller than you think. He's 192 centimetres tall. That's why he's been helping out a bit in the ruck today, and I've liked his overhead marking work in the Demons forward line. So we talk about sometimes the lack of a taller target. They've had Kanash back today. He's been a bit quiet. Harry Carr has probably been the focal point up forward for the Demons today. 63
points the margin here. Brisbane 122. Canberra on 59. 13 minutes gone in the final term.
Back in the middle of Football Park, the Lions will get the clearance again. Matheson pokes it towards the half-forward line. One-on-one contest. Brisbane wins out. The kick comes towards Archie Smith, who's resting in the forward line. Tried to give it to Keys, but the ball was out of play, and it'll be thrown in over in the corner of the ground, 20 metres around from the left behind post at the goals that the Lions are attacking in this final quarter. Kicking to the Woden end, to the right of your screen, Archie Smith to go up against Josh Maynard in ruck. They link arms. Both probably got hands to that. Good smother, and then the good takeaway there. Might have been Baker. Gets it towards the middle of the ground. It'll sit okay there for Pollock, who gets it onto the boot. Kanash is chasing after it, but he's got 3 Lions chasing with him. Robertson pokes it. Kanash is still in there, but the numbers win out. It comes out to Eagles. Haven't seen too much of Matt Eagles today. Shrugs the tackle from Pollock. Hand pass wasn't great, but the Lions just have the numbers around the contest. Kick favours Martin for Canberra. Gathers, tried to give it to Maguire, missed him. Martin followed up with the tackle. In goes Keys. Keys is tackled immediately by Martin. Dispossessed. Highmore gets the ball. Hands it to Smout. Smout under a lot of pressure. Couldn't take it. Hot contest here. Knocked towards the boundary line. How will the umpire see this one? That's deliberate. That's deliberate out of bounds. So a Demons free kick. Alex Smout to take it. Gets things moving on quickly with a kick to Maguire, who marks on centre wing. Looks at the options. He's got a man on relatively short in Osborne. Decides to go a bit longer than that towards Owen Orban, but reeling in the mark is Jack Payne, and the Lions will rebound again off halfback.
The instructions were to go long, and I don't think he went quite long enough. Payne rebounding for the Lions, sends them back up just forward of the midpoint of the park. Off the ground, it's Wooler, and he just decides to kick it into the clear space at the moment. Maybe the best of it there for the Demons was Spina, who got in there, but it's still with the Lions. Comes back around now to Wooler again. He sends the ball in towards the forward pocket, comes off hands, goes to ground now. We'll wait and see what can come with it. Canberra, they get a clearing kick away. It's a pretty scrubby old kick. Pake has to bend down a long way to pick it up. Hand passes off to Powell. Powell through another couple of teammates, and then it winds up with Bruce. Bruce goes for the worm burner, gives it across to Richardson. Richardson sends it to the far side of the park, and Pollock is in there. Now there's plenty of space here. Waiting there is Carr. He's done very well. He's completely sold his opponent underneath it. If he can get there in first place, he'll be out. Oh, he's overrun it, but it's been picked up there by Moline. Moline puts it in towards the hot spot, but there's just nobody for him to go to, and it's a mark taken by Ballenden. Ballenden plays on, sends the ball back around the outside. I reckon it was Matheson who got it. Now the ball falls in front of Berry. Berry, a man who we thought was 3/4 on the way to the hospital at half time, but he's okay. Sends it into Wooler again. He's been very busy in the last couple of minutes and puts his side, Brisbane, back onto attack again. Comes down off the pack, waiting for it to come free. Several players. A stabbing kick from underneath is half a clearance, and for the Demons, it's Mitch Maguire who sends the ball once again back up the field for them. Martin has it. Had an ineffective possession last time. This time he decides to make it work. Gives it to Osborne. Osborne could go to Powell. Instead goes a little bit longer. Finds Evans. Evans, short ball onto Pollock. Pollock to Richardson. Richardson goes back on to Pollock and puts the ball into the forward square. We're waiting all on his lonesome is Connor Owen Orban. He sends it across. Gives it to Hardy, and Hardy takes the goal. Easy as you like. Sometimes they can do it well, this Canberra Demons side, and that's an example of what they can do.
He deserved a goal today, Mitch Hardy. He's had a big effort today, and he was sitting there in the goal square. I think he told Owen Orban, you go back and kick the goal. Owen Orban said, no, Mitch, you deserve one. So Hardy gets on the board, and as we say, the Demons absolutely have toiled hard today and are continuing to toil hard as we get closer to time on. Let's see if they can focus for the next 10 to 15 minutes, or will the Lions be able to string together more goals in red time?
Well, we've seen plenty of it from Brisbane late in each of the first 3 quarters. They've been able to put the foot down, but Canberra 10-5-65. That's not disgraced. That's not disgraced.
That's more than they scored last week, Chris, when they kicked 9-10-64. It's very similar to the score that won them a match against Sydney Uni a week before that.
But this time it is the Brisbane side with the ball. Going to ground with it there. I reckon that's Joyce who's been set upon as he's tried to accelerate away. It was indeed. He's brought down, but the umpire says you didn't have a chance to get rid of it, and the ball up comes.
So in the middle of the ground, it'll come Canberra's way. It's just poked forward. Bruce gets a hand in. Picked up by Osborne, who kicks inside 50. Lions with numbers. Mark was dropped by Payne, but he had time to recover. Sends it to Eli Smith in the middle of the ground. He's off and running. Kicks it to the outer side. Running onto it will be Wooler. Just stops. Kicks towards half forward and on his own, taking the mark. Oh, and then giving it off quickly to Christensen. Alan Christensen from the 50, flying goal.
Oh, that was unexpected, unanticipated.
And too easy.
Wooler to Joyce to Christensen, I think. I think it was Joyce who was in there for the mark on the very quick offload.
He's an excellent finisher, Alan Christensen. He's an excellent player. He's very classy, and a bit surprised to see that the Lions dropped him a week or two back from their AFL side after he had returned from injury. Perhaps still maybe not at 100% fitness, although, well, he can't be far off it. He's been very impressive today. I know the Lions have had a better season in the AFL this year, but I can't think why they wouldn't have Alan Christensen playing for them at the top level.
Well, there's plenty of these Lions reserves who are really knocking on the door for first grade selection, and we'll go through some numbers as the game finishes, but this guy's had a good day in the ruck as well. Archie Smith gets the ball, finally gives it across to Eli Smith, and then to Bastanak. On the subject of busy men, Matheson has it now. He sends the ball in short, but it's been cut off this time. The Demons able to rebound. They're looking to keep this margin. I suspect it's very much in the forefront of their mind about at least doing better than other sides have against Brisbane. Evans, he's had quite a bit of the ball this last quarter, and courtesy of that possession, they wind up going further forward through Bruce now. Bruce sends the ball in forward, waiting for it is Fall flies, but he flew prematurely, and Coleman winds up with it for the Lions. Pretty rough little ball for the Lions, but they managed to get away with it again, and they come around the grandstand side of Football Park in Phillip. Waiting for it was Cox, couldn't control it. Called for it for the over-the-shoulder hand pass from Skinner, but wasn't able to retrieve it. Taken by Baker for the Demons. Baker to Evans, then to Aino. Aino has support. Fall comes forward and up on the 50-metre arc. Can't control the ball. Manages to spoil his opponent, which gives time for Spina to pick it up. Now it's with Fall. Hand pass around the outside to a man in his blind spot in Pollock. Pollock tries to keep it in the field of play, but it trickles out for a throw-in just inside the Canberra forward 50.
Angus Baker just seems to be in the right place at the right time a lot. He's got a very good football brain, and as one of those 9 Demons that's registered for the mid-season draft, I think Angus Baker and probably Mitch Hardy have done themselves no disservice today. They've been pretty impressive as the ball is thrown back inside 50 for Canberra. Maynard probably knocked it down. Lays a tackle as well, then steals the ball free, Josh Maynard. Knocks it forward, but Coleman was there for Brisbane. Fed their hand pass backwards. The Lions get out of defence with a kick towards Keys. He's got Martin for company. Martin gets to the ball. He's tackled by Keys. Pushed back, almost rugby union style, and in the end, Martin's pinged for holding the ball, and Keys is keen to play on and take the advantage. They're off and running here. Matheson with the footy. He points to the goal square. He goes long in that direction. It's a one-on-one. It'll bounce. It's a goal. And it was Reece Matheson who unloaded from about 60. And Brisbane have their 21st. They're 21-8, 134. The Demons 10-5, 65.
I think we can give that one the goal of the day. That just went and went and went. And, it just kept on rolling.
He should put his hand up for well, he already plays for Brisbane, but gee, Essendon could have used him last night, couldn't they?
Well, yes. Yeah, you're not making many friends amongst the Bombers fans this afternoon. That's the second time you've harked back to that one this afternoon, Ed.
To be fair, if David Myers didn't have anyone standing in the final 20 metres, he probably could have bounced it through as well.
Indeed. What are we at? A 69-point margin at the moment. 22 points is the difference. I'm just looking at the mid-season draft at the moment, and what is there? There's 15 selections apparently available at the moment. So not every club will be choosing, because the Gold Coast have selections in round 1 and 2, and so do Greater Western Sydney.
I expect Brisbane probably wouldn't have a pick, Chris, given they have essentially no injuries, which is why they've got 21 listed players today. As Mitch Hardy looking for goal number 2, can he kick it? He didn't quite have the distance.
It's been fumbled over the line, and it's only a point.
That was a pretty good finish from Mitch Hardy. Just didn't quite have the legs late in the game, and the Lions get things moving on quickly from that kick-in. They'll look to use the outer side of the ground. No one can take a mark. It sits up nicely for Coleman. Gives the hand pass to Matheson. Maybe he'll have another shot, Reece Matheson. He goes from 90. It's an open goal square. How will it bounce? It'll bounce out of play.
Oval ball will do that. It'll be your friend sometimes, and then it will go the other way, but they'll get a secondary opportunity here with a throw-in just a couple of metres around from the goalpost there. 23 minutes gone in this final quarter, 134-66.
5 goals to 3 in the final quarter for the Lions. Still plenty of time left, and Brisbane has been good in time on in the previous 3 quarters. There's a tussle for the ball inside 50 here for Brisbane. They feed it back to Robertson. He snaps towards goal. Keys is in a good position. Martin did well against him. It comes off Brisbane's way, though. Umpire paid a free. He called the advantage. Lewis Taylor kicks the goal.
And lo and behold, that would be A 74-point margin, Eddie.
And that is the average winning margin for the Brisbane Lions this season. And it sort of feels about right, doesn't it? Because Brisbane's played very well. The Demons haven't played badly at all, I don't think. There are some issues with the way they go forward and a few players that have been quiet. But this is the result that the Lions have been getting against every other team in the competition. And the Demons are there and thereabouts. But what do? You've got 21 AFL listed players that you're playing against. You're just not going to have the same level of class, the skill level, and the same sort of structural setup that the Lions have had in their defence.
I'm just having a look here. I reckon this is the highest score that the Lions have conceded so far this season. So there you go. That's one thing that Canberra can put as a feather in their cap this afternoon.
So we'll get a secondary ball up in the middle of the ground. We've gone more than 24 minutes. We have seen pretty long quarters, and with 6 goals to 3 in this quarter, we could go beyond the half-hour mark. Smith knocked it down. It was taken by Maguire. He turned it over to Christensen. It came back to Taylor, who gave it back to Christensen to Archie Smith. Christensen now goes by hand, and the kick will come inside 50. House is probably in the best position. It just bounced away from him. Martin was there. Keys picks it up, dribbles it towards the goal, dribbles it through, but it was touched. So a rushed behind, and the Lions, they've kicked accurately today. They're now 22 goals, 9, 141.
We saw on that play there, when the ball was in the air and was coming down to House, that he was in two minds about whether to actually try and reach out and touch or not. And that kind of indecisiveness comes about from the pressure Brisbane have put today. There's been a number of times today where Canberra players have gone up and they've gone for the tap down as opposed to the mark. And when they've tapped it down, the ball's been picked up and crumbed by this Brisbane side, who've just been really hot on them on that loose pill all day today. And it's starting to really add up to a bit of indecisiveness for the Canberra side. And Brisbane, well, they're just going on. They are looking to steamroller this Canberra side now. The ball, it's well inside their forward line. Waiting for it there was Fullerton. Couldn't get there. Eventually it comes back to him. Sends a hand pass inside now. Punched away for Canberra towards Richardson. And Richardson just clears it. He's got nobody there. Owen Orban eventually picks it up. Now he's got a half a paddock in front of him. There's nobody around, so he gives a little hand pass off. He sends it on to Evans, who's been one of Canberra's better players today. Evans, underground, finds Fall. Fall sends the ball in towards the forward line, but it's picked up off the ground by Hinge. Hinge swings around, sends it back forward for the Brisbane side. It's with Payne now. Payne cleaned up after he kicked it by Fall. Ball goes towards Robertson. Robertson, now he finds it on to Smith. Smith back to Robertson. Long ball from Robertson in towards the goal square. Had a couple of men on short, but instead mark been taken in defence for the Canberra side by Baker. Baker turns it around, gives it to Alex Smout, and Smout can send Canberra back up the field via Martin with the short ball from Martin on to Aino. So they've gone 25 to 26. There's no 27 out there for Canberra. Instead it winds up with Maguire, and then they turn it over.
So the Lions go inside 50 again. It was meant for McFadgen. Didn't find him. Hand pass away from Canberra. Ended up with Baker. So another disposal for Baker. Now Aino, who's been okay in the second half, but he's turned it over here. Matheson takes the mark forward of the wing. Goes to Christensen in the middle of the ground. Christensen will come to the broadcast side to Robertson, who takes the mark. Kicks inside 50 and coming out, taking the mark on the lead. It looks like that might be Keys.
Too much space for that man. Way too much space for that man. And this has now the potential to get really nasty in the next few minutes. What is it, 27 gone here?
So Ben Keys, 3 goals this afternoon already, making it 19 from the season. This is his 5th match. So he averages 4 goals a game. They average a 74-point lead a game. Things are going the way of averages today. Ben Keys for goal number 4. He'll kick from right on 50. The left foot drop punt might have just hooked it. He has. So a minor score there for Keys. And the Lions move up to 142.
He's got that funny angled run in and tries to run and hook it around a little bit, and it did himself no favours there. What have Canberra got left in the tank? Do they have another one? Baker sends it around the outside. I think it was Aino again in there. Got a hurried hand pass away, but the ball had gone over the boundary line, so it'll be another throw in forward, half forward flank there for the Brisbane Lions. So 76 points the difference. 28 gone. And what have we had this quarter? We've had 6, 7, 8, 9 goals. So there's probably still another 4 or 5 minutes left in this one. Ball coming back in towards the hot spot for Brisbane. Plenty of players waiting for it. The high ball in towards the goal square now. Comes off hands, bounces once on the turf, twice on the turf. Picked up off the ground by the Lions. Sent through to Thomas Berry. Berry tried to get the shot at goal, but he was cleaned up. The ball was touched and it goes through for a point. Berry was, I think, hoping for a free kick. Didn't get one. The Demons bring it back into the field of play again and go around the far side of the park. Free kick there going the way of Maguire, who was
excellent
bumped.
smother there by Aino to apply the pressure and make sure that was a rush behind and not a goal.
Indeed, and he cleaned up the man as an added bonus there as well, as Vardaniga has it on the short pass or dangerous play. And now the Lions have it, and it's with Cox. And Cox, well, he's not the kind of player who needs a second invitation. He's picked that up, turned around and sent it through.
Well, just turnovers hurting the Demons again inside defensive 50. We've seen them today going up the middle short out of the kick-ins. We've seen them kicking across the face of goal. You're really dicing with death with this Brisbane forward line if you're marking around inside 50. And again, the Lions scoring from a turnover.
The Lions looking for their 150. They're one short of it. 23-11, 149 for the Brisbane Lions. The Canberra Demons 10-6-66, 29 and a half minutes on the clock in the final quarter. And, after the first quarter was tight, won comfortably by Brisbane, 3-3 to 0.2. Brisbane have kicked 7 goals in the second term, 6 goals in the third. They've got 7 so far in this final quarter, and you wouldn't put it beyond them to find room for another couple yet. They have lost their appetite for the footy. Waiting underneath it here is Richardson for the Canberra side. Can't take the mark, and it's a contested ball again. In underneath the pack is the pill. Umpire will come in and says we'll have another bounce. This one to take place just outside the centre square. And I didn't realise, Eddie, we were talking about the training centre circle that's on this side of the ground. There's another one over the far side of the ground as well. Must have been for the juniors, must have been for Little League or something. But the ball now with the Brisbane side as the kick comes forward. Goes over just about everybody there. It might wind up falling Brisbane's way. It does. Comes back on the inside. There is Wooler who's got it. Has the shot from 50 and... well, makes it look as easy as shelling peas, and that is the 150 for the Brisbane Lions. He takes them on to 155.
They've just got so many options up forward. Keys has kicked 3 goals. Eli Smith has kicked 3 goals. Robertson has kicked 3 goals. Matheson has kicked 3 goals as well. And now Toby Wooler has kicked 3 goals. They've got goals coming from everywhere. And when you've got so many options, you've got tools and you've got smalls, it's been very difficult for the Canberra defence, especially in the second half, and things have opened up here with 8 goals in the last quarter. And we look just in time on, we've seen the Lions kick 1, 2, 3, at least 3 goals, if not more.
3 goals.
4 goals.
4 goals in time on, plus a couple of behinds. They really have been able to just clamp down late on Canberra. They've done it to a number of sides across the course of this season. And yeah, it'll be cold comfort for Canberra that they've scored more points against this Brisbane side than anybody else, because I think they've also pretty close to having conceded more points than just about anybody else now. Ball on a secondary ball up in the middle of Phillip Oval, and the Canberra side get a free kick there. That goes to Highmore for... I think it may have been kicking in danger, the call in there.
You didn't say that paid often.
Not often, but Highmore was down over the ball, didn't have possession of it. Ball clears the pack, bounces once, punched away by might have been Robertson over on that far side of the ground, but into another contest, and another pack forms, and the umpire has found a holding the ball decision in there against Angus Baker. And so the Lions will take it away as they go around once again the far side of the ground. They've done this with regularity today, but the timekeepers decide that enough is enough, and the suffering can stop for the Canberra Demons fans for this afternoon. But the Brisbane Lions, well, they've picked it up very easily this afternoon. They're hardy fans who have made the trek here to Footy Park in Phillip. Will be very happy with the result. I'd imagine their coach, Mitch Hahn, who had a birthday yesterday, will take that as a pretty decent birthday present as well. The Brisbane Lions have run out victorious here on our NEAFL match of the day, 24-11, 155 to the Canberra Demons, 10-6-66. Eddie, there's a bit we can say about this, and I know you've got the scores from the other ground, so we might have a quick look at those before we dive into our very quick post-match analysis here in Canberra.
Yeah, Chris, the Swans have been playing Sydney Uni today, and full time that match ended up a bit tighter than it was looking in the second half. The Swans 17-14, 116, getting over Sydney Uni 14-10, 94. In play at the moment, Southport 11-6, 72 leads the NT Thunder 6-7, 43 at half time, and a tight match at Vauxhall Oval. Aspley 5-4, 34 lead the Gold Coast Suns 3-9, 27 at half-time. Here in Canberra, a comprehensive win for the Brisbane Lions, and they had good players all over the field. We mentioned all those goal kickers, 3 to Keys, Smith, Robertson, Matheson and Wooler. Christensen was very impressive, had 32 disposals and a goal. Bastanak, a little quieter in the second half, but he finished with 36 disposals, so a very good day out for Ryan Bastanak. Berry was okay after going off injured. Cedric Cox showed a bit as well. They had good players everywhere. You know, you've got classy players like Lewis Taylor and Reece Matheson. I thought Archie Smith showed a bit in the ruck, and Fullerton. We talked about those tall players. Kitty and Coleman, maybe not his best game of the season, but 23 disposals, and you can see why a lot of pundits think he's a contender for the NEAFL Rising Star Award.
No, indeed. Well, you look at the stats, and ordinarily we'd pick out individuals. I think you can really say about that game that, Brisbane, they had 10 players who racked up more than 20 disposals across the course of the match. Canberra had 3. One of those was Smout, who got to 30. Baker had 27. Maguire had 24. It falls away pretty dramatically after that. Hardy with 19 for the Lions. Bastanak had 36. Taylor 35. Christensen 32. And it just goes on and on and on. Team stats, Brisbane had 460 disposals to Canberra's 377 in the marking contest. It started off very lopsided. It finished up still one-sided, Brisbane 109 to 63. But Brisbane dominant in just about every facet of that game this afternoon. They're deserving winners, and I tell you what, it's going to take a pretty special effort for someone to knock them off during the course of this NEAFL season.
Well, that's right. And next week, no one will have to try, because they're both on a bye, these two teams, the Lions and the Demons, both having a rest in round 7 of the NEAFL. Harry Carr was the Demons' leading goal kicker with 3. Aaron Bruce, the captain, kicked a couple. He looked all right in the second half. I thought that Baker, Smout and Mitch Hardy all had really good games for the Canberra Demons today. And Owen Orban showed a bit in the second half. Richardson was pretty good with 17 touches. And Aino finished with 17 touches as well. So a strong second half from Nick Aino on his club debut. Some positives to take from the match from a Canberra perspective, but clearly not the result or the margin they were looking for.
No, indeed. You mentioned that both these sides have a bye next week, and then, Brisbane will be happy. They're back. They're playing actually up at the Sunshine Coast, up at Maroochydore.
That'd be nice.
To host the Giants in a couple of weeks' time. And Canberra, I don't think they'll mind too much, and they might make a bit of a trip out of this one as it comes off the back of the bye. They're off for the big night game at TIO Stadium up against the NT Thunder. And I reckon that they won't mind at all, given that the colder weather has arrived here in Canberra, having a day or two up there in tropical Darwin. But Eddie, not a great deal else we can say other than that the Brisbane Lions, they came out here this afternoon as the undefeated side on top of the table. And they did what they had to do and what you'd probably expect them to have done. They've picked up a fairly comprehensive win. Repeating that final score, 24-11, 155 to 10-6, 66. Eddie, thank you very much for your company this afternoon.
Chris, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And on behalf of everyone at NEAFL TV, Dan, our camera operator, and all the crew at the NEAFL, this is Chris Coleman signing off from Phillip Oval this afternoon, or Footy Park, where the Brisbane Lions have picked up another 4 points in NEAFL 2019.